Happy Saturday. Hope everyone is doing well. Okay, let's see. We've got. So, just like last stream, I want to do your suggested. That's I don't know why I struggled with that word. Suggested landscape ideas. So I was really happy with how last stream went in terms of uh, thumbnailing. I enjoyed the having an idea ahead of time. As much as I like just jumping in without any idea whatsoever, it is nice to have some goal. I think that's it also is a little bit better of an indicator, I think, of like when I push myself to try new things and if whether or not they work. Because if I just like meander off course and end up somewhere that looks still nice but not what I set out to do, like it's hard to decide if like some people might be like, oh, that looks really nice, but then it wasn't anything that I hadn't planned, so it's sort of like, what skill am I practicing? I don't know. So this was a lot of fun. It was a good way to switch it up. Gives me some metrics to work on. But yeah. I really liked 1 and 3 out of these. I think 1 and 3, I mean, 3 looks good as a thumbnail. I'm not sure if I liked how it turned out. I mean, I obviously gave it more story. And it was okay-ish. I don't know. I kind of goofed up with the scale too. Like, I don't know. I feel like I could have done a lot more with this. Hey, Skittle, how's it going? But yeah, so I think I could have done a lot more with that one. I did. Yeah, I liked 1. I thought it was fun. Sort of dynamic. Has a lot of these lines going across it. Yeah, 4 obviously doesn't have any story or anything. It's just kind of the vibe. But again, that was the prompt, so I felt like I kind of succeeded. It's not as in your face as these. Hey, Suzanne Hilme! I don't know how you say your name still, but anyway, hey, welcome. But yeah, so anyway, I want to do this again because yeah, but they were fun ideas. It's always fun to do, like, random suggestions. But yeah, how are you? And also, hi, Skittle! Hope you're doing well. Okay, anyway, let me set up a new canvas, because this one is just my old canvas. Hope the day is going nicely. The day is going nicely. I took a nap. That's it. No, I technically worked, and then I started a new audiobook series with 11 parts in it, which, honestly, I don't know if I'm going to make it through the first book, but it's fun. How are you doing? I'm doing well. You said you're doing good? Rendering some art too. The deadline was yesterday. Oh, dang. I thankfully have never been in that situation. Do you like? I assume that you like know you're not gonna finish, so you just send them an email and be like, "Hey, can I get an extension?" I assume that's what happens. But is that what happens? Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess. Oof. I guess it's good. It's probably. I feel like maybe the alternative would be that some people would just like rush it and make it terrible, whereas like having the like knowing ahead of time that like, hey, I need more time is probably just like, in some ways that's the responsible thing, right? It's like I need to make sure that it's good. But yeah, that sounds, I don't know, that sounds stressful, knowing that you're behind. And like, I don't know how I'd be able to sleep the night, like the days when I'm supposed to be working or like getting it done. I'm like, oh, but I need sleep. I don't know how I would go to sleep at night. Also, let me find a thing. Because they only check in on the submissions on Monday. Oh, okay. Nice. Usually it's not ideal working in the weekend. Fair. Okay, let me do this. New canvas. Sorry, I'm completely unprepared for stream. I should know this after however long I've been streaming. How to set things up ahead of time. Speaking of not having things ready on time. Okay. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, for me, that's such a, like, an awful feeling. Also, what is happening here? It's such an awful feeling to be, like, behind. And I don't know, I hate that. Okay, let's see. What's happening here? Why? I don't know what's going on. Help. Okay, never mind. Let's close this. I have like a template that I reuse, but for whatever reason, well, I know what the reason is. I've been doing a bunch of other random stuff on stream, and so it's not, I can't just click a random thumbnail template and like know for sure that it'll work. Like, okay, this one will work. There we go. Also, why is that? Let's go like this. Okay. There we go. We have some template. Hey, Commissar Skull, how's it going? Okay, now I need ideas because I am gonna draw chat's ideas. That's what I've decided. Commissar Skull, I feel like I know what your suggestion would be. If you want to suggest something, feel free and I will do my best to sketch it. Let's see. There we go. There, we can close. Okay, that works. But yeah, I think, let's see, last time there was, somebody just said apocalypse, I never sketched it, so I'll put that one down. There's not much to go on there. How does he spell apocalypse? A-P, apoca, with an A? I'm gonna have to Google it. This is pathetic. Hold on, I gotta Google how to spell apocalypse. Apocalypse. Okay, I think I got it right. Yeah, good, okay. Something very tall. Oh, okay, I mean... Yeah, that's actually something. Something... very tall. Okay, it could be a tall person. It could be bone graveyard, sunken ship, underwater village on fire. Is that all one word? Hold on. I feel like that's a lot. Hold on. Bone graveyard, which is actually a suggestion from last stream, but I didn't do it because I didn't. Well, actually, I kind of did. So the suggestion was monster graveyard last stream, but I didn't actually like. I was trying to figure out how I wanted to interpret monster graveyard. Like, is it a graveyard, like a human graveyard, but just for monsters? Or is it like monsters are working the graveyard? Or is it like a elephant graveyard type things, but with bones of monsters? Like, but I don't know, bone graveyard could be fun. Sunken ship, or sunken ship, underwater village on fire. I like that. I don't know how I would approach that, but underwater on fire. That's a fun idea. I don't know why. Or is that all the same? Is that all ones? Now I don't even know. That's not there? I assume there's commas between there. Twitch stitched it together. Yeah, now I'm not sure which is, but it was village on fire. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Okay, village on fire. Village. Nice ideas, by the way. Village on fire. I probably am not going to do all of these. Underwater sunken ship is fun. I like the idea of the underwater sunken ship because I get to design the ship and then I can make it like... You can, there's a lot of like fun design stuff you could do there. Fountain of Youth? Ooh. Fountain, I don't know what that means, really, but... I guess I could design... That sounds fun. Fountain of Youth. Okay. Also, hi Pepperly, hope you're doing well. I might just skip Bone Graveyard. I don't want to do that one. I don't know why, I just don't... I've drawn Bone Graveyards before, and I never have fun in the sketch phase of them. I'm like, I don't know... I mean, I'm only doing one and done here, so we'll see. We'll see how far I get. Hello, everybody! How's it going, Pat? Maybe that's a reason I should do it, actually. I don't know. Although we could do, like, Apocalypse / Bone Graveyard. I'm afraid of skeletons. They're too spooky. Yep. Does graveyard have an E? Graveyard. Graveyard. I think it does. Okay, apocalypse slash... I feel like apocalypse slash a bone graveyard kind of has a vibe. Like, or I guess post-apocalyptic graveyard. Something very... I like something very tall. What could be very tall? We've got statues. Sorry, this is just a writing stream right now. Commissar Skull, how's it going? Also, I think my music's a little loud for me. I'm finding myself yelling. I say that and then I immediately turn it up. Okay, that'll work. Wizard Tower. Wizard Towers are tall. Yeah, Wizard Tower. Wizard Tower. Hello there, Canada, Hazuki. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, Wizard Tower, just a very tall person, is very tall. Like Slender Man vibes. I'm gonna start with Village on Fire because I feel like the vibe is something that I can... It's a good warm-up. Don't mind me as I think I'm just gonna start with color, because it's fun. I was thinking about doing grayscale for all of these. But I like the idea of smoky, maybe a little bit of cool, but not much, but mostly reds and oranges and... Temple of the Fallen Gods. Okay, Temple of the Fallen God. You know what? Commissar, you know you had the option to do a different prompt. Like, I don't know. What do you call it? Brutalist post-apocalyptic architecture. But we'll go with Temple of the Fallen Gods. Temple of the Fallen... No going back now. Okay. Okay, let's find a nice color palette here. I think obviously for the fire we'll have like some oranges and stuff. Smoke colors. Lots of that. Am I getting ignored? No, you're not getting ignored. I see Temple of the Fallen God. No, I'll type it. I'll type no. Maybe I'm muted. I don't know. No. I was just slow. I see your suggestion. I see it. Okay, let's see how well I can do it. And then I'm gonna probably, once I paint these, I'm gonna then look up references for the types of vibes, because I know for things like a smoky burning, like, village or a smoky burning, like, place, I know there's so many good references out there for, like, places on, or things on fire. And so I can make tweaks and stuff. But I want to try just to see how it goes. I feel like having like the structures of buildings popping out where we'll have a bunch of so I'm with delay. Yeah, you might have delay, or I'm delayed. I think I'm just slow. I don't think it's a delay issue. I mean, it might be, but I'm pretty sure it's just me not reading chat properly. Being a bad streamer. I think that's what it is. Okay, also I should probably block out. No, it was delay? Okay. I'm gonna still blame myself and just say bad streamer, not reading chat, because it definitely took me a while. Let's see. I like the idea of lots of overlap. I mean, I know we don't need buildings like this, but lots of, like... I mean, I guess we can't get a ton of stuff in the distance, because, again, there's gonna be, like, smoke and stuff, right? And do we want to be at ground level? I don't know. I'm not sure. I feel like I don't want to be at ground level. I kind of like the idea of looking a little bit downward at the stuff. So we have like just like a little bit of an overview of things, maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of doing all of my sketching on top of each other instead of like distinct individual thumbnails. I just layer things on top of each other. I mean, that's something. Do I want to do that and look downward at this stuff? We could definitely do a scene looking downward. And do like a mini like courtyard type thing. And then have like distant buildings in the back. This is a very bad sketch, but that's okay. It's not for you guys, it's for me. Despite me literally doing this in front of people. I don't know. We could go that route. We could, of course, go looking like ground level. There's a lot of ways to do this. I think the colors, though, are going to be fun. Just like the smoky, dusty, lots of probably dark colors in the front. I don't know. Let me just try some stuff. We could also do like a one main, instead of just like a general environment, we could do like a specific building like collapsing kind of, and we're kind of looking like underneath like the wreckage. That's actually not a bad idea. So kind of like we're down here. There's stuff in front of us, and then there's like buildings and things sort of completely not standing up. That's a way to say that. Completely not standing up. Like that, I know that's not how a building would fall, but you know what? I think it makes for an interesting idea. Also, we could probably do something. Okay, I need references of burning buildings. I don't know how fire works. Burning building. It's just gonna give me that meme with that girl, isn't it? Where she's looking back. I think that's all it's gonna show me. Hold on, let's open up a reference file. Okay. Just some references, just so I can. I guess it depends on the stage also, but here's what I'm looking for. Also, is this like a really famous building? Because I'm seeing it pop up a lot just in a Google search. Ooh, this is actually not a bad reference. Oh, you guys can't see this, sorry. This building popped up a ton. I feel like I should know what building this is. It looks like a very important building, like a capital building of some sort. But I couldn't tell you which capital or which important building. It looks like a fancy building. That's all I know. But anyway, this is useful. Like a dark, because it's dark, there's a lot of smoke. You can see how the smoke illuminates. Also, fire on the bottom, which makes sense. I guess. Does that make sense? I don't know. Is that normal? No, this one, I guess it depends on where the fire starts. Hold on. I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Okay. Ignore my ramblings. I'm like, where... Like, if you were to light a fire on the ground floor of a multi-story building, I assume it would work its way up, and at some point, the base of the building would be the last thing to burn, right? Or sorry, the base would be the first thing to burn, and then eventually only on the top would it be burning, because the fire would work its way up, I assume? But maybe not. Maybe it just immediately goes upward and burns the top stuff first, and then it still ends with it burning on the base. I don't know. I'm only wondering because I'm trying to figure out where do I put the flames. If these are one-story buildings, do I only put the tops burning, or do I only put the... Like, I don't want to do the whole thing, right? So I'm trying to figure out, if I only did one, tops or bottom of the building, which should be burning. So I need to find, like, one-story building fires and see if most of them are... I'm sure I could ask somebody. Ask the robot? No. Let's see. That looks like the library of a nearby town. That bottom one looks like the top caved in. Yeah, so this one, this type of building, I feel like is a... That actually, that's not a bad... Yeah, the top caving in's actually smart. Yeah. I think this is closer to what I'm going to do. I like the idea that the fire on the ground and then having these things stick up in the air. I think that's like a nice graphical idea. There's not much for me to get other than like... I'm just trying to logic how fire burns, even though I should probably watch videos of it, because I know there's tons of it. If this were more serious, I would literally just go and watch videos, because like fire instruction videos, because there's a ton of them where firefighters start fires and then they watch buildings burn. Tons of videos like that on YouTube. So you could literally see it, and you would know the starting conditions. Okay. I think I have some infos. Some info. Okay. Burning. This doesn't look like a village, though. Village on fire. This is like not a village, right? This is like a singular building. Maybe we... I don't know. Maybe it's okay. This is what I get for doing one-off sketches. Okay. Let's do like some sort of, I don't know, cobblestone or something down here. Just something to sketch in some vibe. Okay, this is an idea. And then let's do some glow dodge, because glow dodge is perfect for all things fire. Actually, it probably isn't, but kind of like it. Just some nice markings over. I like the idea that the... Something like that. I don't know. It's kind of has a vibe. The fire burning. Maybe we could get a little bit more yellow and orangey and white. Right in the middle, the hot centers. There we go. I kind of like that, where you start to get like also maybe some like rubble sticking out. It doesn't give village vibes though, which I don't like. But it does give burnt places. Maybe there's like a character. No, character should be in here. They should be long out of the fire by now. And also, I don't know why this building is so fallen over. I mean, I guess the fire. Okay. This is something. Stuff laying on the ground. A little bit of rubble. I like it. It's the vibe. The vibe that matters. Looks like a village in crisis. Yeah, well, it feels. I mean, maybe a village. I don't know. I think there's a scale issue if this is going to be like a full-on village, but it kind of feels like a alleyway of wooden buildings. I don't know. It's something. It kind of. But yeah, I wanted. I think I technically should have done. If I were to do like multiples, I would do a more zoomed out version where it's like you can get like a slight aerial view. I don't like that this is, but again, for a one and done thumbnail, I think this kind of gives the vibe of burning buildings in a village and there's multiples, but it's not as strong as I would have wanted. I shouldn't have made it zoomed. Anyway, that'll work. A wizard tower. This will go back to just fun. Okay, a wizard tower. Let's do something different. If a wizard, what about like a specific type of wizard, like an ice wizard, building a tower out of ice, or out of gemstones, or ice and gemstones, maybe like a blue-green or something, or like a purple-green, or multicolored. I don't know. If it's gemstones, I want to do something just a little different than what I would normally do, because towers are one of those things where like I could paint them all day and they're all oftentimes it's easy to like make them very samey. But I think maybe like on the side of a cliff kind of thing, and so it's like on this side you have it's higher up and this side is lower down, and then this overlooks like the cliff kind of. I don't know, with a bunch of multicolors. Something like that, maybe? Maybe there's a long pathway leading up. I do like my paths, I will say. When it's hard for me to not do paths in my paintings, I very much like paths. There's a painting with a path. That's the vibe I like. Maybe this is the base of the tower? I don't know. I think for Wizard's Tower, it kind of depends on the vibe of the wizard, right? That's the fun thing. It's both the fun thing and the hard thing about. Also, it doesn't feel very tall. Let's lower the eye line a bit. A lot, actually. Let's lower everything else in relation. But yeah, that's the hard thing about this, right? Is like, what kind of wizard? What's the vibe? If it's not for like a pre-existing project, and you're just making it up, it's like, okay, well, anything will go. I think this will work though. Also, I realize I've already undid something very tall. Okay. Maybe I'll start with the something very tall. I'll start with the tower. Trying to get some sort of scale. Maybe some overlap here. I think that'll work. Could do some sort of looking upward shapes. Making some shapes where we're looking looking up at the top, at the base of them. I like that. Just helping me get some things in perspective a little bit. Do we want to see the full building though? I don't know. Probably. I mean, then we could push it back. If we push the whole thing back. The only problem with that is it's not as fun. I like closer up scenes. That's been a thing that I've been sort of doing more lately is trying to do more close scenes that aren't so just like distant thing off in the skyline, you know, just like silhouettes. I enjoy it when there's actually like, okay, well, here's the literal construction of the, you know, obviously this is burning, but like here's how things are put together. Here's where the instead of a silhouette of trees, like here is an individual tree. That stuff just feels a little bit more fun. Like lately it's been sort of what I've been enjoying doing. And it's also, I feel like, I don't know. There's more to it. I don't know why I'm so bad at words today. Forgive me. But yeah, still taking suggestions if anybody has additional suggestions. Not that I will get to all of them. Okay, I don't like where I'm going with this. Let's do... Let's do this. Just little shapes. Nothing in particular. Just shapes. Triangular shapes. Taking a bright color. Although Wizards... I guess Wizard's Tower could be any shape. But I like the idea of little, like, parts coming off of the tower. And having a silhouette that's more interesting. But I don't like... Let's see. Gotta think about this. We could go quite the scale over here, where we do like a ground plane. Some light shining down. A little grove of trees in the back. But we could also go like sunny wizards. We don't have to go, you know, gloomy and doomy. You know? Not all gloom and doom. Wizard's Tower. Little parts sticking off. And also, Wizard's Tower doesn't have to be super tall. I mean, it could have like a shape like this. Kind of like this big overhang. That's not I don't know, it's kind of a fun shape. It's a little bit... I want to say storybook, but not really. I don't know what you call that. Sometimes you word, sometimes you wordn't. I feel like most of the time I wordn't. And only sometimes do I actually properly word. I feel like this is like a... I don't know, this is a fun shape here. I don't know, it almost has a little bit of steampunk vibes. Like a steampunk wizard. Where it has these like tube shapes, and this feels like one of those like old train things with like where the steam comes out like this or whatever. You know what I mean? I think that's how the steam came out. But it has like the little hat on top of like the steam vent. That's kind of what it reminds me of. So maybe we make some of these have like these pipe looking things. Steampunk Wizard Tower. But also, again, I'm not sticking to the prompt. It's not very tall. I mean, it is kind of tall. I guess it's all in scale, right? If these are trees back here. But then this is a massive, like, very wide tower. Which I don't know if I like. Something about having a tall tower being, like, wide just makes it feel not that big, you know? Like, it gives the illusion that it's not as tall as it is. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not good enough. Maybe we rework the shape. Shape is fun, but it could be more. It could be funner, more fun. Let's do something different. Let's go. Maybe it's sitting on a rocky not an outcropping, but like some base here. I could probably push the whole thing back. I got an idea. Got an idea. Oh. Hopefully the idea doesn't ruin the other stuff that I've done. Merge. Move down. Move up. Skittle, what are you working on today? Are you working on anything? What you cooking? Is that the phrase? What you cooking? I don't know if that's the phrase. I feel like you're normally working on stuff. Okay. This is something. Okay. Doodling on thumbnails and try to get some ideas out. Nice. Okay. Let's do... I kind of like the idea of this little, like, hat on top. Like, I don't know. It's kind of a fun... But, again, it doesn't make the tower feel as tall. Whereas if you have, like, a lot of these spires... and different stuff, then it feels taller. Which... Something like this gives them more of that, like, cobbled together vibe. You know? Almost like it's been in active construction over the years. It's not quite Wizard's Tower vibe. But, you know, again, a wizard can live anywhere. I mean, I kind of like the idea of, like, a little bit cattywampus, you know, leaning every which way. Looks like it's gonna fall over, kind of thing. And no reason this can't be a wizard living here. Getting like a little weather vane up here. Does that give Wizard's Tower vibe, though? Not really. Maybe. Maybe. Let's make it on a slope. I do like the slopey feeling. Maybe like a wheat field. Or some sort of golden sunset. Sort of lighting up. Little patches of light glancing through. But no, actually I do like the idea of the crystals or the gems that we had before. That's actually fun. So what if we combine them? What if we bring in like some bright spots of purple and different colors, like greens, and just some little bright spots. And then I'll do like an overpaint of my own image. And maybe in the ground there's some, I don't know, I guess I kind of like the golden colors. That's kind of fun. Gold and green. Not a bad color combo. Okay, I'm starting to get an idea. Maybe a little bit of blue. I don't want it too blue. A little dusty blue. Dusty colors. But then we have this, like, green color, turquoise. Maybe, okay, and then, so now if we have rock, so a lot of times with rock, you have these, like, the base of the rock will be natural material, like a grayish rock or some sort of rock, right? And then you have the gems sort of sticking out of the rock. So if here's like a rocky landscape, right? We've got our rocks. And this thing is built in to the rocks. So here's this rocky place. And then on top of the rocky place are these gems sticking straight up. Green spires. And then maybe there's another layer of like rocks in here as well. I don't know if that makes any sense geologically, but just a giant, like, I don't know, a place, and then more green rocks sticking up. But this time we can have some on the sides. Maybe some other types of rocks too. And then up top, we can have more like, I don't know, traditional tower vibes of like the wizard has built their tower up here. That way we can still tell it's a tower. I kind of like it. I mean, it doesn't, right now it doesn't look like much, but it kind of, the colors are fun. Hello there, Just Fiction, how's it going? I like the colors, which, honestly, for these early sketches, is a, I don't know, it helps me think about the direction I want to go. Doing okay, I hope you're well. I am doing well. I am doing some chat suggesting ideas, and then I'm using those as starting points. And I'm trying to sort of stick to them. Sort of. So far. So far I'm sticking to them. Okay, here's that. Maybe this is red tops of kind of something. I sort of like that. I mean, again, no anatomy going on. Literally zero architectural realism, but that's, again, that's fine. I think it's fine. Kind of has like a cactus looking vibe. Reminds me a little bit of the cactars in Final Fantasy. A little bit, right? Like, all you need is the arms. And they kind of have the cactar vibes. I mean, minus the color too, but a little bit. I don't know. I've always enjoyed the cactars. Yeah, I don't know about the height of this. It doesn't quite look tall. And then what if we had bits of glowing? Because, again, gems. Almost like a lighthouse kind of thing. The top is catching some light. Some gems here. It's kind of a not a normal take on a wizard tower, but you know what? It's kind of fun. And then I don't think I want glowing sky, but yeah, no, definitely not glowing sky. But I do like that. And now maybe we get some brighter lights in here. Like a wheat field or some sort of rocky desert. I don't know, it's kind of weird, but like, I do like the idea of rocks in deserts and like some gemstones, and maybe we'll do some more mountainy environments around it. I don't know. This one I'm is definitely, I'm just trying to do something a little different than what I would normally do, because I feel like just doing like a generic wizard's tower is not as fun, as sort of a different take. And for me, I don't know, something about gemstones feels fun. Also, this is just blobs. References can still come later if we decide to go down this route. Because I could definitely go in here and like decide on the shapes of these, and like here's a bunch of rocks and gems, and depending on the kind of gem, how do I want to build this up, and how do I transform it into architecture, you know? Definitely a lot I could do there. I kind of like that. Not bad. Okay. That'll work for a wizard's tower. Okay, now we have underwater sunken ship. Do we do like a freshly sunken ship with like treasure on board? Or do we do like what kind of ship? Pirate ship? Or modern day like freight ship, cargo ship? What if sci-fi ship? Maybe. Like a spaceship? A sunken spaceship underwater? Or a sci-fi boat, like a boat, a water ship, but also under sci-fi. Hmm. I don't know. What I do know is that I think doing a silhouette, or not silhouette, a top-down view would be fun. So often I do side by, this kind of view where, eye line down low, looking up at stuff. I think for this one, we would definitely want whatever I paint. You just described Treasure Planet. Did I just describe Treasure Planet? Plushies, hello! I think I'm gonna do... I don't know what I'm gonna do, actually. No idea. Maybe I'll figure it out as I'm sketching. But I do want to do something looking downward. Maybe what I'll do is... Oh, I have an idea. I'll focus more on how the ship landed. So rather than just like a ship underwater, I'll do like... Imagine there is a ravine or a cavern, right? And so up top you have land, and we're kind of looking downward. So this might be the top, and then it gets darker as you go further down. And then maybe you have like another area of land in the foreground that's also in front, and it's a little... Oh, what happened? Right? So a little bit of land in the foreground, and we're looking down into this ravine. So this stuff's still in the water, right? This is still down below too. And maybe you have like these shelves in the ocean, so you have like... Again, this is all underwater. Everything's underwater here. And this is not making it clear. But then down here, you have like parts of the boat sticking out, sort of. Does that make sense? I'm not drawing this well. And maybe down on this, there's like a shelf here, like another area that's sticking out of the water. Not out of the water, but like further down. Let's see if I can't do this better. Okay, so the whole thing's underwater. Right, good old airbrush. But down, like, down a ledge, you know? Okay. Because to me, there's something fun about playing with the environment like that, where, like, you know, part of the ship is sticking out, or you have, like, a ship fallen down and you can only see half of it because the other half has fallen down a cliff or something. I like the idea. Like, imagine, because if you were, like, discovering a shipwreck for yourself, right? And you just discovered it, and, like, you know, it comes into vision and all you see is the, you know, the front of the ship or the back of the ship. And as you swim closer, you realize there's this deep ledge, and as it goes over the ledge, the rest of the ship disappears as if it's, like, fallen off. Or something. Hey, KK Mousy, how's it going? Okay. Definitely don't like the vibe right now of this, but that's okay. We don't need to. We don't need to like all of it. Also, I'm going to do something just for cosmetic issues or reasons. I'm going to move this over here. Wait, which was this one? Temple of the Fallen Gods. Okay, Temple of the Fallen Gods, you are getting yeeted over here. Of Fallen Gods. Okay. There. So now, just trying to think of the landform here. How do I want to approach this? There's a lot of ways. I kind of like the idea of a ravine or a crevice on one side. And maybe they're very dark. I don't know how dark I can go. If I go pure black, that's just gonna look terrible, right? And this is like going into the darkness. And then on this side is the ship. So the ship is like sticking up. But then it's kind of implied that the ship has sort of fallen down into the ravine. So here's the ravine. Again, this is not readable, but I know what it's supposed to be, so I'll fix it over time. I don't know. But now I gotta think about what kind of ship. I mean, I don't know if I want to go sci-fi ship. Can I search Planes of Havoc? Sure, Vana. Planes of Havoc. I don't know what that means, but I like it. I feel like I need to Google the word havoc. I mean, I know what havoc means, but that gives me vibes of like a field of like rampaging goblins. I don't know why, but Planes of Havoc makes me think of a bunch of like goblins blowing things up, driving around in dune buggies, and just like I don't know, like Mad Max style, just like chaos and like rummaging through old trash and yeah, widespread destruction, disorder, chaos. Yeah, I for some reason I think of like goblins and the word havoc going together. Also, what if our underwater sunken ship, we do not this doomy gloomy like realistic underwater vibes, but what if we do like lots of color, like shallow waters, lots of reds, well, pale reds because it's hard to go too, yeah, but like pale reds, um, an older sunken ship that is like, lots of sea, purpley, pinky sea plants in the foreground. I don't know. I want to mix it up. Also, speaking of underwater scenes, sometimes I used to not love underwater scenes because oftentimes the colors feel very like it's hard to be too crazy with them to make it still feel underwater. But I just recently played a game called Dave the Diver, and there is one specific spot towards like the end of the game. It's like in the deepest part of the ocean. Um, before not yeah, anyway, it's like the deepest part of the ocean where the color palette gets very red, or not very red, but like a pale red, like this color kind of, and it's like very little blue. Like there's almost no blue in the scene, maybe a little bit of like this, but for like the brickwork and stuff. But it's such a cool it's such a neat underwater color palette because it's not your normal just like things get dark and blue, you know. uh it's like it almost, yeah, it's so, anyway, it's very cool. Dave the Diver is goated. Hey, Dino Kitty. I recommend you check out Cast and Chill for delicious landscapes and color palettes. Okay. Is it? I think I saw it on games that were similar to Dave the Diver. Although I'm skeptical because that game was great, but yeah, maybe. Yeah, I will say unique underwater color palettes are not a thing I stumble across very often. There's a lot of sameness for underwater color palettes. So every time I see something that really mixes it up, is just like chef's kiss. It's just amazing. I don't know. It makes me happy to find really nice underwater color palettes that aren't like tropical color explosion, because like that's not my favorite either. Um, like I feel like the two type of underwater color palettes you get are, well, I guess like three, but you have like the deep sea, deep blue kind of vibes. You have tropical color explosions with like lots of turquoises, and then of course vibrant colors, and then you get like murky underwater. But like none of those you can really see very far, except maybe the deep blue one, whereas again it's just blue. Everything's blue, so it's like not that interesting. I don't know. And I know that's a little bit limiting, obviously, but that's just kind of how I feel oftentimes when I see those. But yeah, let's do like some sort of boat. We could go pirate boat. We could also go some other kind of vessel. You like this color palette? It's not bad. I tried to mix it up a little bit by adding a little bit of that brownish color in there. Maybe a little bit of other color. Haha, Cast and Chill is passive play farming fishing sim. Not necessarily similar to Dave the Diver gameplay wise because no real plot or action. Nevertheless, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous game. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the kind of game I'm looking for at the moment, but I'll keep it on my radar to kind of, I don't know, I might play it at some point. I don't typically play a lot of different games. I tend to play like the same games for a long time. And it was actually a rare thing that I got into playing Dave the Diver. I turn it on to fall asleep too because there's an idle mode where it fishes for you. See, I don't think I would ever want to do that. I don't like my computer on when I sleep. But I do like this. This is kind of fun where we have a boat. I don't know if boat sticking into the up top like this is a little bit boring, but maybe. Hold on. Okay. Okay, let's try this. And then we'll go... Okay, this is obviously not the most boaty looking boat ever, but maybe we go higher up. Does it look like a boat? One of those like double-decker boats. I mean, that's just like classic boat looking thing. But I kind of wanted to do like a bit of a dark hole here. I don't know if that's gonna quite read. I mean, obviously, again, very, very loose sketch. Could maybe even go larger. And then if we really wanted to get into the details of like how the boat is constructed, we could do that. But like, once we want to figure... But again, this is not sci-fi boat. This is like pirate boat. Big, big boat. Kind of reminds me of like one of those Minecraft shipwrecks. Maybe there's stuff sticking out of the hole. With like tentacles. Big... No, I don't think I want to go that route. I've seen too many of that. I want to avoid it. I do like the idea, though, of like some sort of light coming down. And of course, in the foreground, there's always, you can get some of those cool, like, caustic waves. We love our caustic waves here on stream. I don't know. Just like a subtle light coming from above. Because, again, that's kind of how water works, Oftentimes there's light shining down. I don't know if I like that this is just a big dark pit. I don't know. I'm not sure I like the composition there either. Again, this is where a one and done painting doesn't always work that well. Sometimes you need multiple sketches to like figure out what your plans even are. But that's okay. What was this one? Fountain of Youth. I don't really know what that means. Like, I know there's versions of the Fountain of Youth of like a wellspring that you drink from, or like, a well that you drink from, or a spring. It might be somewhere in the forest. Sometimes it's fancy and decorated. Other times it's like, undiscovered It just kind of depends. Dark Wood, Bloodborne, Dark Souls, and Elden Ring have amazing visuals. You can look at these games' vibe, atmosphere, and theme. Yeah, so I've actually made some art before that people have like, that looks like Bloodborne. And that was like the universal comment. And I'm like, oh, I've never played Bloodborne, but like, thanks. So yeah, this like dark gothic vibe. I have looked at Bloodborne. I've seen Dark Souls, Elden Ring. So yeah, I do know what those games look like. And yeah, there's a lot of like gritty, atmospheric, dark, like gothic vibes in those. Um, can you show a suggestion of like Rockface going into the pit, barnacles on algae? That's not a bad idea. Um, like a carved. Well, I don't know about a. Oh, you mean like a literal, like a. Yeah, like the face of yeah, like a shelf, like a rock shelf or whatever you want to call it, like a the ledge of the place going down. Yeah, I could do that. For sure. Or yeah, the face. I for some reason my brain went to like literal face. Um I'm like that would be weird. But it would be kind of cool to do like carvings of stuff. I'm gonna go like this. Yeah, I don't. The only issue with stuff like this is that within water, and this is where I struggle with a little bit, is it's hard without like a lot of lighting. I find it quite hard to do scenes like this because you don't get a lot of light. It's like one directional light with, unless you're doing like bioluminescent stuff, which we could do. But unless you're doing bioluminescence, it's like typically it's one directional lighting and it tends to get very dark in the shadows and you don't get a lot of wiggle room. So unless you plan your scene around the lighting just perfectly showing off what you need, it can be tricky to like. But yeah, I think when in doubt, just lighten the scene up a bit. So like this could be a little darker and then this stuff could be a little lighter. We could get some light shining in here. Whereas if this were just like a random environment, it wouldn't be that big of, it'd be quite easy to put a lot of like atmosphere in here and you could really make this place feel like it is dropping off a cliff and yeah, I don't know. I think I'll come back to this, and if we end up choosing this one to work on more, I'll spend some time making that look better. I think maybe. I mean, I will if we choose it. But also, that's where some references will come in, because I know there's a lot of good references for that kind of thing. I don't know. That's not bad. Some pinks and colors in there. It doesn't really look like a rock face or whatever. Also, maybe we can still make it darker down here. But I don't think I quite did it. I didn't achieve it. Also, I'm not a big fan of the composition. Yeah, not my greatest thing ever, but that'll work. For now, we can always come back. Let's see. Temple of the Fallen. I like that one. But I'm wondering, what is that? Like, what kind of fallen gods? What if I just... Like, what does that mean? Like, giant megalithic structures? Like a big... I guess when people talk about fallen gods, a lot of times you see, like, a giant sword in the ground kind of vibe, right? Isn't that what you see a lot of? The big ol' sword in, like, the mountainside. So a temple is just like a megalithic structure? Is that basically temple? I mean, that's a little boring. We can do something cooler. If it's temple of the fallen gods and not to the fallen gods, right? Is it of the fallen gods or is it to? Because if it's like, Well, we could do, there's lots that we could do probably. Also, you know what? This painting, the more I look at it, the more I want like a blue-gray in here. Just to add some cool tones up here. I know fire tends to be quite warm. But I think having some blue-gray in the smoke will just help. I don't know. I think it'll help push some of that color in there a little more. That warm, cool contrast. I don't need a lot of it, just enough. I think warm, cool is just too important. Or again, it doesn't have to be literally warm or cool, but it's just the vibe of it feeling a little cooler. Because again, typically that's what smoke, right? Like, if the flame is hot enough, it ignites the stuff, and so you get like burning. And then when it's not warm enough, it turns to smoke. I think is how that works. And so even though it's not literally warm and cool, contrast-wise it typically is, and also, or like relatively speaking it is, but I think it just, I don't know, for like general color palette aesthetics, I feel like having a little bit of, you know, making it not feel as warm is kind of a nice, I don't know, it's a choice. Maybe it's the wrong choice. Maybe it would feel, I mean, it would definitely feel hotter and warmer if I did like just an overall warmth. Already what you just added makes the boat very obviously teetering on a precipice. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little unclear because it's just big blobby shapes, but I think the vibe of it is kind of okay. We could do, okay, Temple of the Gods, Apocalypse, Boneyard, Fountain of Youth. I mean, I like the idea of Fountain of Youth because, let's do that. So Fountain of Youth, I mean, what if I just Google Fountain? I don't want to like draw what I find in Google search, but I don't really know. I feel like there's probably a lot of lore behind Fountain of Youth. Let's just go to Wikipedia page and read. Fountain of Youth is a mythical spring which supposedly restores the youth of anyone who drinks or bathes in its waters. Tales of such a fountain have been recounted around the world for thousands of years, appearing in the writing of Herodotus. That's not how you say that word. In Alexander Romance, 3rd century BCE, not BCE, just CE. Maybe it's the same. And in the stories of Prester John, early Crusades. Stories of similar waters also prominently among people of the Caribbean during the Age of Exploration, early 16th century. They spoke of the restorative powers of the water and mythical land of Bimini. Based on these many legends, explorers and adventurers looked for the elusive fountain. Did they really? Did people actually look for the Fountain of Youth thinking it's like... I mean, I guess you could, like, maybe there's something that makes people healthy, like lots of minerals and vitamins in their water or something. But like, did they really think it was like magical? I don't know. That's wild. Like, I guess that's how myths work. Or some other remedy to aging, generally associated with magic waters. These waters might have been a river, a spring, or any... Okay, so we can kind of... So I kind of like the idea of the spring that is, like, discovered. So it's not just, like, a random brook in the middle of the forest trickling through, you know, over a ledge or something. I like the idea of, like, a discovered spring that has been sort of protected and And like, okay, so for example, let me try to explain what I'm talking about here. So when I was a kid, my dad would take me and my siblings up to the mountains, and about, I don't know, like, we always camped sort of at the end. We basically drive to the end of where the road would go. It's turned from regular road into gravel road, and then we kept going, and eventually the gravel road was no more, and it ended. And then a little up from the road we would camp. And so like we were kind of tucked away in the forest, but if you went back up the road a ways, occasionally there would be these springs, and they were named. They had names, but mostly they were like springs that were very not well maintained. They were mostly like just on the side of the road, and horses might drink from them, or like, but typically it was just like a pipe sticking out of the mountainside, so you'd literally have like rocks and stuff on the mountainside here, and there would just be a pipe sticking out of the mountain, and then the water would just like trickle out, and maybe you'd have like a horse trough, and then the trough would overflow and it would go over the side of the road. And this is a terrible illustration. So you'd have the road there would be a cliff on this side and a cliff on this side, and you'd have like the road that would go around. Just, you drive here. Here would be the car. You like my illustration? Very skillful. Here would be the car, or a truck in our case. So here's a truck. Okay, truck. We're driving the truck. I'm just gonna color it in truck shape. Okay, here's a truck. All right, we're chugging along, and then on the side of the road there would be like a horse trough, and then in the horse trough there would be like a pipe, and then the horse trough would overflow, and there would just be like a little wet spot across the road, and it would trickle down. That was it. That was the spring. I don't think if you had a fountain of youth that's what it would look like. I think sometimes these things wouldn't be a horse trough, but they would be like a carved piece of wood, and maybe there'd be a sign that would say, blah blah spring, and maybe there would be a little bit of like brickwork on the side, just to like, instead of being a muddy mess, it would be like brick, so that you don't get all muddy. That way the horses can come and drink, right? But like, I imagine a fountain of youth, or a spring of youth, would be a little bit more protected. Like, it would have the nice brickwork. There would be like little altar-y thingies. There would be like channels where the water drainage would go, and like it would be built, right? It would be constructed. It would be maintained. Maybe there would be fancy, carvings and etchings and things to like signify its importance. I think Zelda Fairy Fountain. Yeah, maybe a little bit like that. Zelda Fairy Fountain. Let me Google that. Maybe. Yeah, maybe like that. I mean, that's like, yeah, I guess for like bathing in, that could work. Yeah. Something like that. But so I'm kind of thinking that, like, but still nature-y, like in nature. And also, because it's going to be Fountain of Youth, I feel like having some sort of contrast between the immediate area and then outside of that area. So like maybe in the immediate area it's full of life and there's plants and flowers and color, and then outside it's like not lively, right? Almost like an oasis. So, for example, maybe we have, here's the Fountain of Youth waters, just chilling. And then we have stonework around it. And again, I realize this is very, very basic. We're not doing any fancy shapes right now. And then in here, we have like, this is where the water's gonna come out. So it's going to come out from the side of the earth somewhere. Like a little trough or a little basin. Maybe you can wash your hands in here. I feel like there needs to be drainage, so maybe little channels down here. And then over here, maybe we get... Maybe there's like a tiered system, so like... So like kind of like that, where like you have the water flow, and then maybe there's like another step, and this is the side of like where it's coming from, and then in here you would have like a place where people could, and again this is like not that big, right? And then you'd have like stones and things inlaid in here. This is probably a bit silly. Right, so you have things inlaid in here, little stones or gems. And then you'd have like plant light. Oh, that's way too green. Or way too neon. And then you have like plants and stuff kind of, you know, up here, maybe some down here. And it would be like a nice little place. And then you'd have, this would be the ledge. And then maybe outside of this would be the rest of the rocks. So we'd go like rocky structures. Whoops. Let's go like blue. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with my perspective here. But something like that. I know that's pretty basic. And then it's maybe a little bit secluded. I like the idea of it being secluded a little bit, but like still... Okay, my perspective skills have got to level up this year. That's my New Year's resolution, part 10. Level up perspective skills. You meant to follow as soon as you got here. Sorry. Don't apologize for following. You follow whenever you want. I appreciate the follow. It means a lot, Dino Kitty. But yeah, no one needs to follow. Also, I have follows set to like anonymous so that people don't have to feel called out. Obviously, if you want to self-call out, that's fine. And if you talk in chat, I will try to acknowledge you. But in terms of the followers themselves, or like the notifications, that no one will know who you are. Anyway, I don't know if I like this. But anyway, that was kind of the vibe I was thinking. I don't like the setup for it, but sort of this idea of like having a little spring. I mean, I realize how bad the sketch is, but a little spring around this area, right? Where you'd have the water coming down. I don't know. And maybe little bits of stone. I'm trying to think how I want to do this. Maybe trickling down like a little waterfall. I'm just kind of noodling now. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is yeah, this is basically what all the springs that I have seen look like. Let me find a... Well, not quite like this, but this vibe where you basically have a tube where the water comes out. That way it's not eroding stuff. and then it's just dumping into somewhere, whether it's off the road or into a trough or somewhere. Something like, basically like that, right? But now imagine, instead of this being just a random spot, people have built, you know, walls and like a retaining wall, and they've made a little area where you could sort of step into, but you still have like the naturey stuff around it. That's kind of how I imagine a lot of roadside springs, right? This also feels very familiar to what I've seen, right? You basically have a tube coming out of a bank, and then it's just, somebody will literally put something down there to stop the erosion, and then it just trickles off the side of the road downhill. That's basically the vibe. All the springs I've seen IRL more or less look like that, but typically with like a horse trough down under it, because people rode horses, and they would, it's nice to have a little watering hole for the horses. But then the water itself is just, the trough is full of algae and grime because it never gets cleaned. That's what I've always seen. So I might rely on that kind of aesthetic. I actually really like this. This is a neat area where like you have this big space with the yeah. So let's do that. Obviously this was not my real painting, but we could kind of, but I'm going to try and use the vibe there a little bit. Color-wise, I haven't quite figured it out. I think I will probably go red-green vibes. A lot of cool, or not cool, warm colors. Get some... I actually like the idea of the big rock in the middle. That's kind of cool. That's kind of how this image is. Like a big boulder, but maybe the water is directly on the... So the water is going directly on the big boulder. So you have like some sort of boulder here. And then you have the... something like that. Good morning, how's it going? Hebe is here, how's it going? It is going well. I am doing some you suggest stuff, I paint it thing today. And so far we have a village on fire. We have underwater sunken ship, which I wanted to do like a, you know, teetering on the edge of a ledge. And then we have something very tall, and also Wizard's Tower, and I wanted to do like some sort of gemstone tower, something that's a little bit different than your normal Wizard Tower. And now I'm doing like a Fountain of Youth, and I'm kind of painting like a spring. So yeah, that's kind of the vibes that I'm going, or that I'm doing. Maybe some greenery. Something like that. So yeah, I'm doing well. Zumillo, how's it going? Cool, looks great as usual, thanks. I'm having fun. It's a little bit... Yeah, it's fun. It's a good practice to just draw different things. You know, sometimes it's a mix of like trying to make it unique. Other times it's just trying to figure out how the heck to draw something. I like it. I like this kind of thing. Because I find that I run into a lot where like, this is pretty generic, and if this were like again, not that this would ever be a commission, but if this were a commission, it's like, okay, this is very basic, and this is not what I would want to do. And even after the first sketch, I'm like, you know what? I realize a village on fire, this is not a good depiction of a village on fire. This feels like a close-up of a single house or two. And, you know, it's kind of... I feel like even though it's not my favorite thing I've ever drawn, I already learned some stuff that I would do differently if I were to do it again. And so, yeah, I like it. Okay, but I'm trying to add some... Oh, not that. Let's add the foreground. I actually like the idea of this, like, sandy looking water. I think that's neat. So often you think of, like, Fountain of Youth and water as this, like, you know, crystal, like, I don't know, like turquoise and stuff. I like the idea of a little bit more dirty, but not dirty, but like, you know, rocks that are not pristine. I mean, they are in the sense that they're clean, but they're, you know, the color of brown, right? Brown rocks. You don't, this idea that everything needs to look pristine, I don't know. I like the idea of rocks being this color. And then the pools can also be that color, but still having built things. So, right? So I still want... probably some maybe like light blue stone or something. Some sort of rock face. Back here. But yeah, I hope you're doing well. Hebe and Zamillo, hope your days are going good. Okay, I think this kind of works. It's not quite spring vibes, but also value-wise it's awful, but that's okay. We will figure out something. I'm sort of gonna paint more or less from the photo at the start, and then I'm gonna change it and just paint over the top. Sort of do like an overpainting of the photo painting. Because I like the photo a lot, actually. I think it's almost a neat study piece. There's some cool stuff to learn from it. And I don't normally start with a photo like this, and so sometimes when I do, it's like, I want to get the most out of it, you know? It's going pretty good doing some digital painting as well. Nice. Hope the painting goes well. Hope everyone's painting's going well if you're lurking and working. Lurk and work. Yeah, let's make some nice rocks. Some good old boulder shapes. You try to do some charcoal still life this morning. Oh, nice. I have a lot to learn. Charcoal... I like charcoal. It was one of the first things as a kid that I ever used. It's kind of what got me into art in some ways. I mean, I didn't, like, pursue art after that, but it was the first time I felt like I was doing more, like, I don't know how I word it, but, like, something about pencils don't feel fancy, you know, because, like, every kid uses pencils in school, and so, you know, using charcoal for the first time is like, oh, I'm using real artist supplies, you know, like, I'm taking it, I'm going above and beyond, you know? That's not really true, but that's what my, you know, 12-year-old brain thought at the time. My 12-year-old brain thought I was pretty cool for using charcoal. And it was like, all I could talk about was how cool I am for using charcoal. But obviously I was terrible. I didn't know what I was doing. But yeah, that was a thing that I thought was cool. And it is cool. Charcoal's neat. It's fun. It gets really... It's also the first time that I kind of started to learn a little bit of, like, what values were and how you can make things really, really dark, which is neat because you can't really do that with pencil. I mean, you kind of can. Yeah, the vine charcoal feels fancy, but rustic and primitive. Yeah, but it also, like, there's a focus on values. And I think that is, to me, painting with charcoal for the first time was a really nice experience because it's sort of like, yeah, it is a little messy. It is a little primitive feeling, but at the same time, because you can get such good like range of values, you also there's that focus. I don't know. I just thought it's cool. I thought it was neat. Putting some green in here. I feel like this is going to be a fountain of youth. Also, should probably be some waterfall here, huh? Because that's kind of what the fountain is. Is water. I don't think we need it bright white, but... Okay, so there's a little bit of water. Again, doesn't quite give Fountain of Youth, but I do feel like if we're gonna go maybe a big old slab over here. And another one over here. And these could be a little more geometric. These could be dry. This could also be dry on top. Doesn't quite look very Fountain of Youthfulness, but that's okay. Not very Fountain of Youthy, but that's fine. Let's see. I do feel like having some patterns and stuff on the rocks could be a good start. Trying to think how I want to approach this. I feel like a lot of these rocks would be carved, you know? You'd have like almost pristine like slabs of rock. They wouldn't just be your regular old rock sitting in a lake, you know? But maybe there's still a bit of natureiness or naturalness to it, you know? How do I want to do this? I don't know. Gotta think about this. Also, do I want it to be, like, overgrown and, like, secluded? Or do I want it to be, again, gem... I feel like some sort of carving or engravings would be cool. There is that story of, oh gosh, what is it? I think there was a Broadway play or a musical of it, but there's also a movie, Tuck Everlasting, I think was like that. Wasn't that the whole vibe of the story of like there was this family of people who lived forever because of a fountain of youth, and like once it got out that like the whole idea was like trying to survive against the like trying to keep it a secret, right? Because once people found out it was a thing and like they're gonna take over the land and like it was off in the forest and it was kind of a love story and like anyway. And if I think it dealt with like the morality of like living for or the like philosophy of like living forever and how that affects like loved ones if you know you can't make or do you profit from this thing? And like, they're sort of different. Anyway, um, but like that was very naturey, right? Like I think the idea is like if you were to stumble across that in the Fountain of Youth, you wouldn't even know that it was the Fountain of Youth. It was just more like a spring in an old tree, basically like a little pond. I don't think it was like fancy, right? It wasn't like guarded. It was just like a place that was known to the people who knew about it, which was like one family, I think. I can't remember the actual story, but I think it was like basically one family knew about it. Um, and yeah, I don't know. There's something in some ways I like that vibe too. Um, but maybe it's kind of like that, except we know that it's special because of like the colors and it's not just a boring old like spring, but like it's just a little bit extra, you know? Maybe there's some carvings there that have been around for ages, and there's, a vibrant, presumably there'd be like a something with life, right? Like an old tree that is thriving. Um, some Yes, there's something mysterious about it not being. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, like if the thing is gonna be, if it's gonna stay hidden, making it not fancy is important, right? It's like the random pond in the middle of the forest that people don't even think second of, or like maybe you stop and drink by the spring when you're looking for water in the forest, but then you just like continue on with your life and you never even realize that you drank from the spring, and maybe you live like an extra 10 years or something, right? Because you just happened to live a long time but you didn't really know why, or because again it's not like you don't necessarily feel it right away. And I think that was actually the story, right? Is like the originally in this story, which I don't know, again I think it was a musical first maybe, but in the Tuck Everlasting story it was like I don't even know if they knew it was more just they happened to be settling in this forest, and there was a spring, they stopped, their animals had something to drink, and they basically just kept living. And it was like, oh, and at some point they kind of got the hunch that like, oh, it must be this water. But like they didn't, to them it was just like that was their water source, and it wasn't like a big deal. I mean, eventually obviously became like, oh, this is a thing we have to protect, right? But like, it sort of, it didn't start that way. It didn't start with like, oh, it's the spring. It's more just like, yeah, you're just like a family who grew super old because they had this fountain of youth, that kept them young as long as they kept drinking from it. And it, maybe it started with the animals not dying, and like, oh, there's something going on. Our animals seem to be living a long time. Um, and then before long it's the family. Yeah, anyway, so I thought that was a kind of a fun take on it, and I kind of liked that idea. So yeah, keeping it natural maybe feels real. Yeah, I mean that's how you'd stumble across it, right? And then like once you realize what you have, you wouldn't want to like sell it or make it fancy, like unless you're trying to capitalize on it and like, you know market it, bottle it up and sell it, which to be honest, you'd get filthy rich, although you'd probably also get invaded and then like have it taken from you by the military, or the government. Government would send military in to take over your land because you literally have this thing that is makes people live forever. So like at some, like what would you do? I mean there's definitely like if you were in that position, it's like a tough situation, right? It's not easy to know what you would do with this fountain of youth. You'd presumably want to help people. And I assume it's not like you drink it once and you're immortal, but like you know, it just cures you and it's super healthy and you basically could live forever if you drank from it every day, but like you need to continue drinking. So like maybe you'd get into medicine and like, here, drink some of this, person. Here's some water. You know, I'll make some tea out of the Fountain of Youth water. And like you know, you'd still want to help people, but like you also don't want it to become, I don't know, like exploited for evil, you know? Like you don't want it just to ends up in the hands of certain people and they end up becoming rich, and I don't know, like there's definitely a moral thing going on, right? Like what's the right thing to do, you know? And like if there's not enough water for everybody, who gets to drink from it, you know? Like who decides? It's not an easy situation if you had a fountain of youth. I always like these thought experiments a little bit because in some ways that your solution is like the thing that you like in theory is what you would want to do, like because in the moment, right, you would feel differently, right? Like, oh, I could profit from it, or if you found out your neighbor had it, you'd be like, oh, I should take it over, you know, like there you could have all these like intrusive thoughts, right? If you stumbled across the Fountain of Youth, or if the government discovered that you had it, right, they would want to take it over. um but if you think about it purely as like a thought experiment, right? Like in an ideal world, like, you know, if one were to exist and there was very limited supply, who should own it, right? Is it the person who discovered it? Should you how do you decide that? Um like whatever your solution there is, and assuming that you are a random person, that you may or may not be the one to have ownership of this thing, like how do you what rules do you place in this hypothetical universe around this Fountain of Youth, not knowing where you're going to be born and, you know, and who's going to have control of this? And like in some ways, like, is it just like who discovers it and like that's reasonable and just let it be because there is no perfect solution? And so like realistically the random person who discovers something is going to be probably like a good person, relatively speaking, whereas if you give it to, you know, once you start having people fight for power, suddenly that's where like the, you know, the real works are gonna, what's the phrase, the real pieces of work are gonna come out of the woodwork, you know? They're gonna be the people who bubble up and fight for it and want it for themselves. And like I think at some point it's like, yeah, just give it to the random person who found it, let them keep it. But like that's hard to do in the moment, right? Like, you know, especially when you find out that that random person who keeps it like is just, you know, they don't, they keep it for themselves or whatever. But I think I don't know, it's hard because, yeah, very gets into some philosophical ideas. Anyway, I kind of like this, just a little fountain. Doesn't feel very youthful. Also, there's no greenery. We got to add some green. Green, especially around the edges. We're gonna add some green. Lots of green. It's gonna be lots of splash from all this plant life. And anywhere it touches is gonna be enriched with life. So you're gonna have lots of greenery. Yeah, but that becomes like a debate of what's more obligation, someone who could give anyone eternal life. Yeah, but there's always, but assuming it's limited and they have to decide, it's like, because there's always there's this, it does become like a moral debate, but there's this thought that I always have, which is like, I think if you were someone in extreme need, right? Like you were at your most vulnerable, you know, if the person essentially wanted, they could rob you. Maybe you had like, you know, $10,000 and they could in theory rob you because you are, you know, it's only going to be you and then them, but you are in a position where like, you know, they could just get away scot-free. I think if you were to go up to like a random person, most people would not like rob you and be bad. I think most people would be good. But if you, waved that you were vulnerable and had money, there would be people who would approach you who would not have your best intention, your best, like, they wouldn't be looking out for you, right? They would want to like gain from that transaction. So like I think if like there's a difference between like people coming to you versus you going to other people, right? Like once you become a target and you can other people want to like, if everybody see, it's kind of like with streaming in a way, right? Where like if I'm a streamer and other people approach me, that is different than if I just roll the dice and pick a random person, right? Because people might have a reason to like approach me and like for who knows what reason, right? But like me rolling the dice for a random person is just a random person. There's no intent there, right? And so there's no reason that the random person I pick would be a bad person. But if someone thought that they could take advantage of someone and they single them out, it's different, right? Depending on which way that sort of the arrow is pointing, right? If that makes sense. And so I feel like that concept, I don't think I explained that concept very well. But like that concept I think comes into play with cases like this where you have a thing and if it were given to a random person, that person more than likely would do a good thing with it. But once you start having like people knowing it exists, then people will start coming to it and there will be people who will be like wanting to exploit it, right? If that makes sense. So I think in general, if you couldn't decide, because once you make it known that this thing exists and somebody has to decide, I think that's where you start getting motivated reasoning and just all sorts of like not the best person for the job, right? But it also reminds me a little bit. There was this study of like there's like it might be called like Peter's principle. I don't know what it's called, but the concept of like if you're promoted in a company, you will eventually be promoted to like the position that you're incompetent at. Like you'll if you always promote someone who's good at their job and then you promote them to a new job, eventually they'll stop being really good at their job because like it's going to be different and eventually they'll be like bad. Whereas if so you don't always want to promote the best people, and I think they found out like the most optimal strategy is to just promote at random, because if you promote the best, then you're left with not the best doing all the work, right? And if you promote the worst, well then you obviously get incompetency. And so it's basically like a random promotion is the optimal. And of course nobody does this, right? You would never do this in a real business. Nobody would trust this, even though I think there's some math to suggest that this is a good way to do it. But like in theory, it's like if you just do it randomly, you're gonna get like most people are gonna be decent at their job that when you promote them, and like yeah, you're gonna get some bad ones, but also better than just always promoting the best people, because then you're not ruining the supply of the workers who you're pulling from. So it's kind of like it balances out over time. It just ends up being like a good strategy or something like that. But I feel like it's kind of like that, right? Like once you start having this, like trying to make a choice, or I mean, I don't know. I think this exists all over. Like, I don't know. It's just some interesting stuff. I'm explaining it very poorly, but I don't know. I forgot what it's like one of those like rules like Poe's law or like something's law where like it basically just makes the statement. I don't think it's like a real thing, but it's like the observation that over time the people who like you will have, if you are like at a company long enough, that you will eventually become in a position where you're incompetent or where you're like not the best for the job, right? You'll be, I don't know the right way of wording it, but there's some like, I don't know, there's something around that. But anyway, I just thought it was funny because it reminds me a little bit of that. Or like if you're trying to make a choice of like who do you give this thing to, I think we all have like it's like the person who can talk really well and makes a good case for themselves, and they like those aren't always the best people to give it to. Like the people who advocate well for themselves, like it might be the person who sits quietly in the corner who doesn't say anything. And like you don't have any reason to think they're going to be good because they're not fighting for it. And like they might be the best, you know, it's I don't know. I'm rambling now. Also, this does not look like a fountain of youth, but maybe that's what makes it fun. A big old tree. I mean, I guess if it's... You would see a lot of old trees, right? A lot of old plants. This doesn't look old. That's okay. They say that anyone will at some point in their life have a position they are not qualified for, but really most positions of authority or leadership are not designed in a way that suits anyone. Yeah, I mean, I think positions of leadership and authority is just like a different skill. And I think it's a tricky skill to gather because most situations are new. It's very hard to gain experience doing a thing you've never done before, which is basically what leadership is all about. If there's already a solution, or you really need a leader? Probably not. Right? Leaders are like making decisions on behalf of other people, and oftentimes they're accumulating knowledge and they're trusting those people, and they're just being like the... Like, it's one of those things where, like, if you... In some ways you want a generalist, but you need the generalist to more or less listen to the experts. And also you need someone who... In some ways, it's more about, like, transparent... I don't know. It's tough. I feel like leadership roles are weird. Because, yeah, people always, like... I don't know. This conversation could definitely get into, like, political, because, like... I think it... Wasn't it, I don't remember what it was. But anyway, yeah, I think anytime you talk about, like, high leadership roles and, like, what kinds of experience should a leader have, and it's like, well, they don't necessarily need to be an expert. They should be knowledgeable around the people they're leading. That way, when someone talks to them and says, this is what we should do, they should be able to, you know, sniff out the not good stuff, right? But So they can't be incompetent, right? They have to be able to speak the language of the people they're leading. But they also need, like, experience, presumably, leading? And, like, how do you get leadership experience if you've never led before? And that, to me, is the real question, right? Like, I think most people could learn to lead. You would just have to learn... You'd have to, one, know what the position is. And, like, again, it's not just a thing you jump into. Like, you could be trained, I think, to lead by, you know, like, practicing in a classroom or something. Right? Like, you absolutely could be trained to lead. I think the problem is that most people aren't. You're promoted from a position where you've never had training, and just because you're good at your job. And they're like, we think you should lead. Well, why? Why do you think this random person who's never led before should lead? Like, that's not that's not... There's no education, there's no training, it's just being promoted to a point of leadership. That's not how leaders work. Like, that's... At least not to me. That's not how you... Like... And then you get problems with, like, people who want to lead, which, again... Yes, you can be trained to lead, but if you want to be a leader, maybe, like, what are your motivations, right? Like, are you actually leading to take credit secretly for yourself? And, like, then there's other factors, and, like, it's super... I feel like leadership is super easily corruptible because it's not a thing... Like, I feel like people would want to be in a position... Because, like, leadership comes with power, right? And a good leader would be one who has experience leading but has no desire for power because they're actually trying to make decisions based on the interests of the group. And that's really hard when we give the person who's the leader all the power. So it's almost like a contradiction in some ways, which probably plays into some of the the messiness of the whole job. So like, yeah, I think a lot of times it goes back to that, like, in theory, the good leaders are the people who don't really want to lead, but for whatever reason were forced to and then had to keep doing it. So like, you didn't necessarily want to be a leader, but it was chosen for you, and then you kind of got stuck. I think those are some of the best leaders because they, one, didn't choose to do it on their own. They've over time gathered experience doing it. And they weren't and they weren't inherently like motivated by the power. I don't know. But even then, like, what training do they have, right? So it's like, now it's tricky. I don't know. Leadership is weird. It's an interesting topic. I always struggle with it because, like, I don't really even know like who would make the ideal leader. But I do feel like typically the people who want to lead the most are not the good leaders, because there's a motivation there to like be a leader, and that, I don't know. Oftentimes it doesn't mean they're looking out for like the, like, I don't know, not the best motives. But anyway, what am I doing here? This is what's going to be like a tree. I don't think I like these. I think some of these are okay. Sorry. Let me back up a bit. So what am I doing today, if anyone's curious? I am painting some, doing some sketches of suggested ideas that people have suggested. That was a mouthful. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Also, let's add some water in here. That'd be fun. A little water's edge. But yeah, these were suggested ideas by people, and I'm sketching them. So the ideas were something very tall and / wizard's tower, and so I made like a wizard's tower, but I wanted to go a little bit different with it. So I put some like gemstones and stuff, different colored tower. A village on fire, obviously just fire and a village, I guess. Pretty standard, not very unique here, but that's okay. Then there was an underwater shipwreck or sunken ship, which I like. I like the idea. There's sort of big pit, maybe some different colors or something. And then Fountain of Youth, which is, not very Fountain of Youthy looking, but that's kind of what this whole discussion got started on. Because, like, do you want it to look like a Fountain of Youth? And if you stumbled across a Fountain of Youth, what would you do with it? And like, how do you decide who controls it? And what happens when the word gets out that you have a Fountain of Youth? Does the government swoop in and take over and then capitalize on it for themselves and the people in power? Like, there's an issue there. And that's kind of how we got into the whole discussion of like leadership. I don't know. Somehow it got into the discussion of leadership. But yeah. So we were kind of talking about, like, what if it just looked like a normal old spring in the forest, except maybe around it there's a little bit of life, there's some old life that has lived there forever, like an old tree, just kind of chilling, surviving. Presumably there'd be a lot of old growth, but not also new growth, because it's, yeah, I don't know, it's tricky. So like over time, very different, but kind of reminds me of a location from Craig of the Creek. I don't know what that is, but yeah. It's funny, if you think about it, like if you think of like old growth forests, if you had a fountain of youth and you had a bunch of plant life that just started growing, right? And basically never stopped, right? Because it's the fountain of youth. At what point would it be you just never be able to access it, right? Like, it would just be so overgrown. It would be inside of a tree stump, that has grown around this thing and completely, like, it would just be like in an old tree with a little trickling stream that would eventually erode into the ground and work its way into like the watershed, and like, at what point would this thing be inaccessible because you just have you'd have growth of trees and plants that just never stopped, or they just never died. So it wouldn't be like rocky, you know, it would just be like a jungle. It would just look like this, like you just couldn't see anything. If someone put a goldfish in there, it would never die. Yeah, exactly. And maybe it would keep growing. I don't know how that works with fish. I think fish just only grow large enough for the place they're in. I don't know how that works. But yeah, it'd just be like a big fish. But like, would it really be a big open pond like this? Or would it be, you just have like this dense, you know, like 3 or 4 trees all smashed together and then nothing because there's no sunlight reaching. And it's just like a little stream. I don't know. Definitely, it's interesting to think like how that would work over time. Because like, surely you wouldn't see this, right? You wouldn't see life of like at all stages, right? Because that can't happen forever. At some point, you have tons of, like, you can't just have a bunch of young life of like new tree saplings and stuff, right? And little twigs and sticks and stuff in here. You can't have that. It would be, you know, you have algae growing, and then, oh, Fountain of Youth would keep it. I guess Fountain of Youth is different than Fountain of Life, right? Maybe Fountain of Youth keeps it at its current age. Is that what Fountain of Youth does? So maybe you would have young plants, right? Little sproutlings that start to poke up, and then they get hit by the water, and they stay sproutlings forever. Maybe I'm thinking of just more like Fountain of Life, where like thriving. I don't know. Maybe I think I mixed my concepts up. I guess you could have like younger plants. Undying goldfish. I do like the idea of an undying goldfish. Yeah, I one of the things I like about drawing, funny enough, has nothing to do with drawing, but it's just these thoughts of like, what does it actually look like? What happens if you had a Fountain of Youth? Would things keep growing forever, or does they stop because of growth? And like, what are the logistics of this thing? And how do you like? I don't know. It's just, it raises interesting questions that need answers, because those answers might determine how you depict something or where your story goes. And yeah, I guess if you had like a goldfish in here, it would just be a young goldfish. It would be a little baby goldfish. It would just be very old. Hello, Vegas. Vegas, what would you do if you discovered that somewhere on your property, or somewhere that you had control of, had a Fountain of Youth on it? Or like a spring that if you drank from, you would just stay in your current form. You wouldn't get sick, no more ailments. You would just stay basically the age you are forever in your current health. Unless, of course, you wanted to get more healthy, then you could do that too. What would you do? What would you do if you stumbled across somehow and you knew? Like, maybe you tasted it and you're like, this is special, and then you just kept drinking from it and you realized you weren't aging, but everybody else was. Like, what would you do with this thing? But it's not like a lot. It's like a little trickle of water. So like, you know, maybe a couple gallons a day, you know, not enough to like mass produce. Like, what do you do with this thing? This is a question for everyone. You are now in ownership of a Fountain of Youth. Only you are aware of its existence. No one else knows. Tough question. Yeah, one of the things I love about artists is you're mostly required to think about things a lot, and a lot of time research them to some degree. Oh, totally. Yeah, I think research and reading about things and familiarizing yourself with different viewpoints is absolutely a thing. I mean, even with like, you know, art that you wouldn't think to be sort of philosophical or, you know, like even something like, you know, person goes into war. It's like, okay, well, what are they feeling? Are they excited? Are they terrified? Are they a little bit of both? Are they homesick? Like, these things can help you decide how your character is going to react in a situation. And that's going to depend on maybe what they bring with them. You know, were they ambitious? Were they planning? And, like, real life has stories about this. And people, you know, and how they reacted. And, like, it's endless, right? It's the more you know, the better you can decide what to do with the thing. Oh god, I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough question because like on one hand if anyone finds out about it, expect the military to come in and take over. Right? Leaders with power would want to live forever. So you probably want to keep it a secret, but also like surely you want to help people, but like how do you decide? And like I don't it's a tricky thing. And like I mean, I guess if you knew it was a fountain of youth, you could just start like busting your butt to like earn money and make sure that you can protect the rights to this place so that you will continue having it as long as you possibly can, and then you just slowly build up like your little making sure that you are in control of it, and then you can have time, right? I think that the worst thing would be like, oh gosh, this would be a story. So imagine, okay, here's a story idea. You are a poor, broke person struggling to make ends meet, and you discover that you have this thing, right? And so you are trying to like find a way to preserve it because you don't want to you might be evicted from your property, and like there's this basically this gold mine, but you can't really tap into it right now because you don't have any way to make it work. And so you are like trying to do everything you can basically to you have this basically this thing that you want to maintain. And it's hard because it's like it's how do you sell it? You can't market it as like I have the Fountain of Youth. Again, that's how you lose it. You don't have how would you protect it, right? I guess you'd better really hope you live in a country where they have good laws and like finders keepers laws type things, and a good justice system that would actually protect you, so that if it ever did go public you could like fight for it in courts and win a lawsuit and like actually own it. But like that would be, oh man, I would not trust the justice system to like allow you to retain ownership of this thing. What a battle, you know. And also in the meantime, but yeah, there's a show called Common Side Effects about a magic mushroom that is basically a fountain of youth, everlasting health. Gotcha. Goes through a lot of problems to solve from that. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting like ideas around this. Anyway, I've been rambling about this for a while. Hebe says, I've been stuck on a piece for forever, but I don't know a lot of digital artists to ask. I mean, there's a lot right here in chat. And also, I'm not sure, does the person who answers a thing need to be a digital artist to answer a general, like, art question? Could probably get a traditional artist. There's no reason. If it's anything to do with, like, the art itself. Also, let's pick one of these. There's 4 of them. We're just... Some of the suggestions did not make it, unfortunately. Oh, we're getting a raid! Welcome, raiders! Welcome, welcome. How are you, raiders? Oh, I just did a thing that I didn't like. Let me just take this. Go like that. Welcome, raiders. How are you? Venomin. Welcome in. Hello. How's your day going? Alright, let's do... We'll turn this off. Make a new layer. I'm gonna remake my borders here. And I'm remaking my borders so that I can rename them. I know this is, whoop, this was not the best way to do it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're getting ready to vote. I wanted to show everybody your cool landscapes. Aw, thanks. Thanks for bringing people in. Yeah, so I guess an introduction to me, but first, Venomin, if you want to share what you were working on, you're more than welcome to. I don't know if you're an artist or not. I assume you probably were doing art. Most people who raid here are. But you're welcome to share what you were working on today if you have anything to share, whether it's like a link to Instagram, ArtStation, DeviantArt, any of those places, Twitter, Blue Sky, or just like a direct link from Discord, that works too. But, yeah, you can share some art if you'd like, and thanks for coming in. But yeah, what I'm doing, like, painting viewer-suggested ideas, so we had a, what was this, a burning village. We had a something tall, which was just a wizard's tower we went with, a shipwreck in the ocean, or underwater shipwreck, and a Fountain of Youth. This one is a little bit of a stretch because you would never know it's a Fountain of Youth, but it was, I don't know, it introduced some fun ideas. I didn't get to it. Commissar Skull, I didn't get to it. Next time we'll do a temple. I have a habit of never getting to your ideas, though. I will say, it's not intentional, I swear. You worked on a PNG tuber model for your Ocarina of Time playthrough? Oh, nice. You know what? That's a really fun idea. If you're an artist, to do models or art for the game that you're gonna stream, so you have like custom art made for every game you stream. That just seems like a good idea. I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's a good idea. Okay, let's do a straw poll. Or not a straw poll, but a regular poll. Let me do this. /poll. The options will be vote. Wait, let's see. Which one shall Joe work on? And then we'll have 4 options. There we go. 4 options. 5-minute poll. There we go. You can vote in chat. If you'd like to vote, there you go. There's a poll up. Hopefully you can see it. I think you can see it. There we go. These aren't like super exciting, but I think last streams were better, but these are okay. Your landscapes are so cool. I could never. You could definitely ever. You could ever. Conhai, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. That's what you usually do, says Venomin. But since I'm very slow at drawing, it leads to not streaming that many games. Yeah, that would be the problem, right? Because that's a lot of work and a lot of time. But no, I appreciate the kind words, Kanhai. These, I will say, these are very much just sketches, and I'm not... I don't know, I'm not super happy with them, but I think we can definitely take them in a fun direction. Like the building, you know, the tower would need to be redesigned, the shipwreck stuff would need to be redesigned, to maybe plan some sort of story, subtle story. Same for number 4. Number 4 could be fun because we could add all sorts of stuff to make it feel a little bit more special. Whether it's the shape design of the trees or the rocks to do carvings, maybe like glimmering effects to make it feel a little more special. I definitely think there's some stuff that we can add and sort of keep, in some ways, concepting these spaces. But yeah, I like to do it's funny because like a lot of times what I do, I guess you could call it iterative painting, but I just kind of paint directly on top of the thing I was already painting. So like I'll do a sketch like this, but then I'll just start changing it on top of the painting instead of doing like a new sketch. I'll just be like, what if I just keep changing it? And what if this one is different? Or what if these shapes go this way? And like, I'm basically just painting directly on the thing. So it can get a little chaotic and a little messy, but it's fun to do on stream. But they basically end up being one-off paintings, so I'm not doing like a super fleshed out process. But it's very much just like reworking, like layering paint on top of it. Almost like one layer painting kind of, and I don't typically go back to old layers. It's just like a constantly building up and morphing of a thing. Obviously, it's not the most rigorous way of painting, unfortunately, but I find it more fun to do on stream when I have a short amount of time. That way I can actually be assured that I can get stuff done. Also, okay, the poll is halfway through for voting which one I'm going to work on, and we have a 3-way tie. So that's not good. 1, 3, and 4 are tied. You mostly like painting on one layer? I like it too. It's... Again, I don't think it's the best in terms of like... I mean, I think it's great for like an early... Like, for some parts of the process. Like, I think it's great for color palette discovery. I think it's good for sort of figuring out a vibe of a painting. I don't think it's great when you're trying to do like sketching and iterative design and trying to figure out what you're doing with it. I think it has its place, but not for the whole painting, right? I think at some point you should sort of step aside and do your thumbnails, do your composition sketches, right? But like, because I'm typically starting in color, a lot of times I do it more for like the overall mood and vibe of a painting, but the actual like subject matter and design, I would be better off if I just sort of set this aside and went to another page and sort of did some sketches and design work. So I think it has its place, but I think the way that I do it on stream is not ideal. And I'm kind of zooming through the process and skipping steps, so the end of work is not as well done as it could be. But in some ways, I'm okay with that, because I am doing this on stream. This is sort of as like a one and done painting. You know, just it's basically me sitting down and doodling. So it's not supposed to be super thorough. But in terms of like practicing a more thorough process, then, you know, there is a time where I need to do that as well. Are you the only one who likes 2? Apparently. Apparently. I haven't voted yet. I like number 2 as well. Oh gosh, do I pick between 1 and 3? Oh, number 3 has won the vote. Okay, I voted. I broke the tie. It was between 1 and 3, and I broke the tie and decided to go with number 3 because I think there's just more fun. This one would be fun, but I feel like I would need to redo it because I don't like the scale and like because the theme was burning village, or like village on fire. And this one, it kind of had a village on fire, but also not really. I don't know. I would want like a more zoomed out view, so I feel like I would have wanted to restart. This one, I feel like I can work with. I need to change a lot of stuff probably, but at least I feel like I can work with it better. So this will be fun. Let's do that. Let's go here. Let's go there. Saving this. Let's make a new file to save. Oh. There we go. One makes me think of the beginning of Skyrim, personally. I've never played Skyrim. I mean, I've seen it, so I know what Skyrim looks like. But yeah, I think any sort of burning village vibe, like, this is not super unique. And I think one of the reasons I didn't want to work on this one is because kind of we were just talking about, you know, painting on one layer and not doing a lot of like iterative design work. I kind of gloss over some of that, or the iteration process. And I think this painting, there's just a lot of stuff that needs to be answered. I'd like to do a different, you know, vantage point, also showing the city, adding some storytelling, kind of like, you know, maybe like maybe a notable, you know, maybe a house, a key house in the village is the start of the fire, and all the ones around it are less burnt, you know? Like, surely there's some sort of way where, like, you know, maybe the fire's spreading outward, or maybe the village is getting raided and the village is on fire, right? Like, some sort of storytelling. This just doesn't have a lot going on. It's just burning buildings, and it felt kind of... I think I did kind of a lame job. Like, I like it. I think it looks nice, but it's more of, like, a single frame of, like, a story, you know? I feel like if we want to make it really dramatic, we would add, like, a teddy bear on the ground. That's not how you draw a teddy bear. I don't know how you draw a teddy bear. Anyway. There we go. Not a teddy bear. A very sus teddy bear. Yeah, the stream paused. Also, hi. Oh, hi! Josh Knox Chinnery. Hope you're doing well. Anyway. OMG. Pepperly. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna work on number 3. Number 3 it is. It won the vote. We'll go like this. Hello, Hazel Ruthven. How's it going? Let's do... Okay, one more thing. We're going to stretch this. And then we're going to stretch that. There. Now we can try to figure out... Okay, so first things first, I want to grab some references of underwater shipwrecks. Just to, like, find images where you can actually see underwater. I also, because I think I want to add, at some point, I want to add some lighting down here. I want to be able to see into the crack. I know sometimes it gets very dark underwater, but I don't just want it to turn to black. I want to add additional light. So I'll probably sort of expose the lighting a little more. I'm feeling kind of cold, but all right. No, I hope we can warm up. Multiple layers. And hopefully it's not because you're getting sick. All the layers. Okay, let's do... So yeah, quickly sketching out the painting. Okay, let me find some references real quick. I haven't used references really, not on this one anyway, up to this point. Some of the other ones I did use references. Technically, for the fire one, I grabbed a fire reference just so I can remind myself kind of what fire looks like. This one I had a reference of like a spring, and then the others I didn't. So, but this one will need references because underwater stuff. Let's see. I like the idea though that there will be like barnacles and things growing on the ship. But I also wanted the landform to be kind of like this is on the edge of a cliff. You know, maybe there's like a little ledges down here, little shelves, and then you have things growing. Lots of options. Ah, thank you for the follow. The weather has been a hit all over the place recently in Paris. We went from -4C to 11C in less than 24 hours. Dang. I don't know what those temperatures are in American units. Hold on, let me... Because we don't use real units for our weather. Actually, I will say I'm a little bit... Of all the... So I am a... Metric is just superior than non-metric. in the US. Like metric is just superior. But I will admit I actually like Fahrenheit. Because it's more just like vibes. Like really hot summer day is 100, really cold winter day is 0. And it's nice and easy to remember, and it feels like there's more incremental gradients because there's 100 numbers instead of like 40 numbers or 43 numbers. Anyway, that's a hot take. I know people are gonna think that I'm insane for declaring that I like Fahrenheit better. Only for weather, only for the weather, not for cooking, not for measuring like super hot things. But if it's just like based on like how hot is it outside, I actually like Fahrenheit. That's my one super hot, very American take. But for all other things, for distances, for like anything involving science, so temperatures involving science, I like metric better. You agree for weather? Okay, that's might be a first. What is minus? What was the temperature you said? Let's see. 11 C to F is 51. Okay, and then minus 4 C to F is 24. Ooh, yeah, that is a pretty big swing. I like Celsius more. Yeah, I mean, I think Celsius is probably better for cooking too. I don't actually know. I feel like anytime you're doing like science or math with numbers, like pretty much all of the metric system is better. But I will say I like the round numberness of like temperature wise when you're dealing with like how cold and hot it is, because the range just makes more sense. Like to me it's weird that like the hottest hot summer day caps out at like 43 degrees. Right? Like capping out at 43 like technically you could get hotter than 43, but 43 for those Americans, 43 C to F is 109 degrees, right? Like that's a hot day, right? Like that's really hot. But 100 degree or like 37, right? 37 is like a very hot day. That's 100 degrees. 37.7, right? But I feel like at that point you're getting into the 0.7s, and that was another great part of Project Hail Mary. Yeah, I mean, I thought he dragged it on a little bit too long, personally, in Project Hail Mary. He initially made a point of, like, struggling with, like, flipping units. You know, I don't want to spoil it, but basically he doesn't really know what's going on when he wakes up. And he's trying to figure out, like, where he's from, who is he, and he assumes that he must be American because he seems to be flipping between units. But he also might be Canadian, because apparently Canadians do that too. And yeah, there's kind of a debate between metric and Celsius. 100F was supposed to be the human temp. Yeah, and I think it just, I think for me, it still feels very like when I think of like a super hot day, I think of 100 degrees Celsius, or Fahrenheit, sorry. I think of 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Like that is a day where you don't want to be outside, right? But if you could go outside, you could survive, you could be just fine. It's still a very hot summer day. You'd probably want to be in a lake, right? Or a swimming pool of some sort. It's 37.7, so basically 38 Celsius. It's a hot day, right? And then 0 is like the same. It's like, it's below freezing. So it's not freezing, it's below freezing, because it regularly gets below freezing. And it's just like a very, very cold day, right? But it's not like it can get colder technically, and it can technically get hotter than 100, but like that's a pretty good range, especially if you're like in America, right? I'm sure depending on where you are, that temperature that wouldn't line up quite so well. But for me, it's like it's somewhere where we do get those extremes. Like those are about the extremes that we get where I live. And so it lines up so perfectly. And so if someone says like, oh, it's 50 degrees, my brain understands exactly what that is. I mean, I'm sure anyone who has Celsius does too. Anyway, so yeah, that's the one thing that I actually like Fahrenheit more for, is temperature. But anyway, I don't think that's a popular opinion. Okay, I'm looking for videos, not videos, images of like barnacles and things on the side of a shipwreck. Um, okay, I've got some references here. I like here we could definitely go like this. But now I'm gonna want to add lots of, I think I want to play with color a bit. I'm not convinced I like the color for this painting. I don't think I want to make it more blue. Not gonna lie, 112 is average summer temp here. That's pretty hot. Like, see, that's very hot. Yeah, I think ours typically will reach that high, but not, like, that's like a 1 or 2 days of summer, right? Like, we get some hot days here, but that's definitely not average. Not a chance that's average where I live. But we do get very hot. We have, I think last year we had multiple days, like over 105, 106 in a row. And like that's, like that to me was pretty hot, but definitely not average. But yeah, some places are. Let's see, do I want this like blue vibe? I don't know. We could go very blue. The only reason I would want to go this blue is if I want to bring in some of that lighting into the depths, you know? And that might be good. So this might be good if we went like... This is just kind of a spitball idea. I don't know why I call it that, but this is just me seeing what would work. This is like the depths. Trying to make like, I guess some occlusion shadows in here, or occluded areas. Not occlusion shadows, but ambient occlusion. That's the word. I think I'm gonna go now. It's 3 a.m. for me, and I've got to finish your holiday homework. Good luck with your homework thing. 3 a.m. That's not done with your homework at 3 a.m. That is procrastination to the extreme. Good luck with that. I don't envy you. See you later. Yeah, see ya. When the low is 95 in the middle of the night. Yeah, that sounds awful. Do I like this? I'm trying to think how... I guess we could go something like this. Bringing some... What about having bits of ship over here? Like wreckage over here. Would that work? Looks amazing. Thanks, Casey. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. I don't have a great way. I'm kind of playing around here. Trying to figure out how I want to approach this. This was another viewer or chat suggested idea. I mean, I kind of like that. I don't know. Does this look like a boat kind of fell into the depth? Is that kind of the vibe? Makes me want to play to play and paint instead of cleaning, moving your home PC. Ooh, cleaning and moving your home PC. That's is there? Are you wait? Are you moving, or just moving your PC? Your first thought was broken boat. Yeah, definitely broken boat. Shipwreck, old boat. Is it just like spring cleaning, except not technically spring yet? Or what's the occasion? Just time for a clean? I need to clean around my computer. There's like getting some dust bunnies. Time to get out the corner of the living room. Gotcha. Rearranging the living room now that I have no roomie and I can do what I want. Oh, nice. Does that I don't mean to intrude, but does that take like a does that put you in a more difficult place like financially? Because I know that would be tough. And obviously don't have to answer that question if you don't want. But I could see like because I know you just made the shift to full-time art, right? Full-time stream and art. And I could see that being a very difficult to not have, now more rent or something. It'd definitely be easier with a roommate to feel more comfortable. Gotcha. Okay, so here's a boat. I don't like the colors here. One of my issues um with underwater paintings is it's really hard to do colors at a distance because if you've ever seen stuff underwater, colors don't survive a distance, right? The distance destroys all color. So either you have a lot of foreground color or you don't have a lot of color. But I think there are ways to do it, right? There's creative ways to do this. That's what I'm trying to do now is bring in some of those purples, some of those browns, reddish colors. I was talking about there was a scene I didn't take a screenshot of it, and I'm kicking myself right now. There's a location in the game Dave the Diver that has absolutely gorgeous. Here's some references I have, by the way. I'm trying to. What was it called? It's the very last zone you can dive in. It's like the very base of the very depths. It's just a gorgeous color palette. Let me see. It's okay. Glacial area is the last area. And then down, the hydrothermal vents. There we go. I think that's what it is. Hydrothermal vents. Dave the Diver. Let's see if there's some screenshots of it. Because the color palettes are gorgeous. For underwater scenes, that is. No, that's not what it is. That's not what I'm looking for. That's later. Hold on. Uh-oh. I've lost it. Okay, well, I'm trying to find the color palette here so I can let's see. Okay, sorry, I'm being a slow Googler. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Do you have... I don't know. I'd have to play. Anyway, yeah, nope. Okay, sorry. That was a random failure of a search. But anyway, the colors are very like brownish. Brown, red, orange. Kind of like this vibe. And I really like it. It added a nice, like, an interesting color palette to underwater scenes. And it still felt underwater, which is always a feat, you know, to make a scene have basically no blue in it and still feel like it's underwater. I think that's cool when that's done well. You know, just the right amount of atmospheric perspective to make it feel like you're looking through a murkiness, but also you have the telltale signs of things, you know, swimming. You have fish around, you know, in the foreground, also in the background. But then you have like the plant life. Everything is designed to make you the vibe, you know, say basically. It's basically the vibe of the game is screaming this is all underwater. Also, you are swimming underwater, so there's that. There's literal movement of like you being a little diver dude. But the color palette is so different than what you typically expect for underwater scenes. And it just, I don't know, it was like a breath of fresh air. I need to go and take some screenshots for next stream so I can show you guys what I was talking about. Okay, maybe this is like a big fancy boat. So maybe there's like a... I don't know. Not quite Titanic, but, you know. Some sort of gate, not gate, fencing, railing. That's the word. Gotta head out to finish assignment. Have a good stream. See ya, Hebe. Thanks for popping in. Good to see ya. All right, there's that. We've got some boat breakage in here. What other kind of boat stuff? Let me Google some more boat. Sunken ship. Images. I know this is not the best way to find references. I'm kind of looking for like the tops of the shipwreck. Ones that show into it a little bit. This is kind of a cool shipwreck. Not quite what I'm looking for, but that's something. Also, there's so much AI. Oh my goodness. Oof. AI shipwreck galore. No, no, no. Okay, there are little areas like this, though. Little areas that have been either cut away or just little holes in the ship. I may or may not be taking inspiration from Minecraft right now. Because I don't know what ships look like. My knowledge of shipwrecks comes from Minecraft. Not the best reference. Obviously, I'm using some references right now, but not in any particular ship. So I'm kind of just piecemealing it together. But I kind of like it. I kind of like the vibe. Trying to figure out a silhouette here. I still want it to look like a ship, you know? And then maybe some bits of color, a color pop maybe we do like a... I don't think glow dodge is a good choice, but, you know, not that. Now, what about an overlay? Sometimes just playing around with color is fun. Bits of green, red, and different color. Again, I realize that this is not realistic colors for an underwater scene, but that's kind of the point. I don't really want to do realistic colors. I like the idea of a little bit unusual color palette. That's always been something that I don't know, just always been something that I like in underwater scenes, because underwater scenes can be very, like, on one hand, they're full of life, right? Tons of life. But on the other hand, it's hard to show that life without just purely shape and silhouette, because you typically get, it's very blue, it's very dark. So it ends up just being like a texture. And so it's hard to use color, in my opinion, underwater. Okay, so now, what if I Google underwater cliffs? Just underwater cliffs. I know there's some pretty cool stuff. There's lots of cool underwater cliff photos. It's a thing I've looked up before. So yeah, this is very dark, but again, it's fine. We can have some of that darkness and shine on top of the ridges here. Or some of the light can still, it'll still shine down. I feel like that works. It's not a bad... I'm not totally sold on the composition though. Also, this thing over here is kind of weird. This can be a little bit softer. I kind of like it. Definitely could get some caustics and stuff going on here if we wanted. I don't know how much I want to do that. It's kind of etching. I almost said sketching, but it's kind of etching. I feel like I'm kind of just adding some of these little like lighter patterns across here, just sort of sprinkling the shapes in with the light, trying to put the light in important areas. It feels like I'm just, I don't know, kind of like it. And then it's a little like grimy and dirty feeling. I'm not sure if I like the grittiness of this texture. Could probably clean it up a bit. But in some ways that texture is nice because it makes it feel like it's murky. And it kind of adds to that underwater feeling a little bit, in my opinion. Maybe there's a lot of ships. Maybe it's like a ship graveyard. There's another ship over here. some shapes going like this. Maybe there's some... Yeah, there. Just different types of ships. I like that. That's not bad. In my opinion. Now, do I like this foreground stuff? Not really. Yeah, that's not bad. Now, we can get into the fun part. Or maybe not the fun part. Maybe the least fun part. The details. Trying to figure out some, like, barnacle-looking things, and maybe we'll beef some of these ledges up. Or these wooden things. And that way we can really put on some of these barnacles and stuff. That was kind of fun. The only thing I don't like about this shipwreck is that it's a little distant, and I feel like having things more in frame and being able to show the detail, a lot of that just comes down to, like, what is it that you want to show? And then I realize that's, you know, that's a choice. This depends on what it is you're painting. I'm trying to, I like these little spiry shapes back here. I'm kind of trying to see if I can't change the landform a bit to include some other shapes. Just like old stuff on the bottom of the ocean that has been kind of, I don't know, grown over. But also maybe some plants, you know, maybe some plant life. You get some coral. One of the benefits, in my opinion, of painting with these textury brushes, or this texture, really it's been one brush that I've been using, but the singular texture brush, it is adding a bit of, like, grit and grime to the thing, which is kind of nice for this, like, murky underwater, you know, there's gonna be, you know, stuff floating, debris. I'm not used to updating my comic each Saturday yet. Oh, kicking yourself and you didn't even... Oh, wait, did you just update it? Nice. I think I had seen the first installment before you posted it because I saw you working on it, but now I'm curious because I don't think I'm familiar at all with your second installment. Or third? I don't even know anymore. How many have you done? I'm actually I might be way behind. I need to catch up. Yeah, I don't know if I like the red there. This is your third. Okay, I don't think I've seen your second yet, either. I'm already behind. Okay, now I'm curious. What if I do, like, a bit of blurring? Smudging? Oh, voice of all. Thank you. Voice of all. Voice of fall. Thank you so much. Voice of fall, thank you so much for the sub. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I don't know. This to me, there's a lot of like messiness in here, but then again, when you look at actual underwater photography, like that's what you see kind of is you see a lot of nondescript shapes and blobs, right? There's a lot of like everything has like a coated layer of dirt and grime and underwater stuff, right? Like everything just takes on this like amorphous blobby shape because everything sort of has this like it's not like here's a pristine rock and here's I mean, I guess sometimes you do, but sea floor photos images. No, not like the teeming with life ocean floor. But like I guess even some ocean floors, right, do have a lot of stuff like this. This is pretty full of life. But even from a distance though, there's like if you start to look back here, it starts to just become like a bumpy landscape, right? Like there's not like a big shapes. They're just all it's very low to the ground. It's very bumpy. Also the color it becomes very flat. Like right in the foreground, right, there's color, which is kind of what I have going on. Um yeah, it's a tough thing. Obviously different places are different. Like there's some sandy beaches, some rocky beaches, you know. It's different. Wait, did Casey say something? Hold on. Vegas, you said, actually, Casey, I just released the page I put on your showcase last week. Did I miss chat? What's happening? Did somebody say something and I not see the chat? Or am I confused? Or did Vegas... Is that wrong chat? I don't know. Now I'm confused. Is Casey live right now? No, that was just a comment to Casey. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. I got confused. I'm still a little confused, but that's okay. I'll be confused. All good. But yeah, in Vegas, I'll definitely have to take a look at your updated versions. Or your not updated version, what I'm talking about. Your second and third installment. The page I released in your comic was the same thing I submitted to her showcase from last week. Gotcha. Gotcha. But yeah, I guess we could add like little sea creatures and plants sticking up and just like little silhouettes in here. Little like hard shapes to add some texture. But I don't think that's the thing that I need to be doing. Maybe some fish. Let me see how fish look underwater in the murky depths. Oh god, not let's go to proper Google and not that other thing. Oh, this is cool. A big old shark on the bottom of the ocean. I don't know if I'll put a shark, but that's kind of a fun idea. Have like a some sort of sea creature, or I guess it could even just be swimming over here. Sort of silhouette. Is that where I would want it? I think so. Like that. Is that a good shape here? That doesn't, it's not a very iconic shark shape, but that's something. A little, some sort of creature there. Maybe we get a stingray low to the ground here. Don't they like to bury themselves in the sand? Some kelp. I could maybe add some kelp here. I know I do go a little overboard with like foreground plants sometimes. Maybe we don't need it here. Could also do, again, I realize that I'm kind of running out of things to change in this. Like I realize this is not like a super polished piece, but it kind of has the vibe already. I'm not sure about this though. Back here, I feel like there needs to be maybe just some little mounds of stuff, bumps and rocks. Kind of mirrored it back here. Trying to add a lot of depth. I know underwater scenes don't typically have a lot of depth, but that's kind of what makes this fun. There's a lot of the things that I don't like about painting underwater scenes. Trying to like fix that. Like I don't like the lack of you know the blue color to every underwater scene, so I'm trying to make it a little more brown. And I don't like that everything you know, everything gets super dark super fast. You know, typically you have like a, you know, especially not necessarily down, but like far away, right? Oftentimes you just get like a really dark. I mean, again, that's fine. I mean, we probably should get a little darker down here. I guess this shape, these shapes are a little wonky here. It's not clear what's happening. Right? Like, if this is the ground, it's not super clear. But yeah, I guess it would make sense that these would get a little darker underneath. Because, again, it is hard to have light. And so you would have a pretty definite, like, you know, dark underside of things, lighter top. Yeah, I do want the light from the ocean, from the surface to reach down here. At least a little bit. What if I did like color? I don't think I want to go color dodge for the caustics, but we could. Maybe? Is that too much? Kind of just messing around now. That might be too much. I mean, this also makes it feel like it's very shallow. Because we have so much light coming in. I guess we could have more caustics up here because they're closer to the surface. And then less down here. I don't know. See, this is where I think a lot of the issue here is composition. Oh, goodness me. What do I do? Yeah, I don't think. Let's see. Turn it off and on. Yeah, I think I need to get rid of a lot of that. I do like it a little bit on top though. It's kind of fun. Also, what if I do a depth of field type thing? Blur some of the foreground. We could do that. It might be a bit much. Kind of trying to figure out how I want to approach this. Is this just like what is the like what are we looking at, you know? Like, is this far away? I mean, it kind of is because this is obviously a big boat. Or a big ship. And then it's obviously fallen, right? So you have this dark area. This cavern. It's kind of fun. Gonna need a bigger boat. Yeah, actually, we could do like the. I don't think we have the right perspective for this, but like, if we had the scene go upward more. Again, this is a little bit of a stretch, but I'm just trying it. If we went upward more, like this, we could have, like... boats kind of up here, like if this is the eye line. Something like that. A little bit much, but yeah, we could have like some of the boats on the top. I mean, there is something cool about putting that much depth or that much space up here. Like this sort of this balance of like super bright. I don't think that's the right play. Yeah, I don't think that's the right play. I think this is better. Needs a helicopter? It does need a helicopter. Every underwater scene needs a helicopter. Honestly, a helicopter would be kind of fun. Instead of an underwater boat shipwreck, just a helicopter. Like, that's not a bad idea. I mean, not in this painting. but you know, you could definitely have some cool, you know, some shapes, and you know, you'd be a little bit more. Also, there's no way a helicopter would stay together if it crashed into the water. It'd be a disaster. You'd have all the parts would be everywhere. But it'd be kind of neat. Definitely some stuff you could do. Also, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I think in a week from now, next Saturday, I want to do a sketch exchange. We do our sketchy, Secret Santa style sketch exchange, where everybody comes up with like a sketch prompt based on the theme, and the theme will probably be like New Year's. And yeah, we trade, and so next Saturday, I think I kind of forgot to mention it, but I want to just bring that up now, and I'll bring it up a couple times. It's gonna be a little probably more casual than normal because I will probably forget to bring it up, and who knows how many people will be here. Hopefully, like between 20 and 30. That's always what I hope, but you never know. But yeah, anyone's welcome to join. It's just like a fun event where you come up with an idea, and then we all trade, and somebody will sketch your prompt, and then somebody will sketch my prompt, and somebody will sketch other people's prompts, and then we share them at the end, and we tag the person who we sketched for, but nobody knows who will get theirs ahead of time, because I have a randomizer bot that'll do it. So that's a thing. It's good fun for everyone. Everyone's welcome, and because it's sketchy, it's not you know, it's all about, it's very casual, it's not hardcore, you know, it doesn't matter what your skill level is. You could have never drawn in your life, and you're more than welcome to join. But yeah, good fun for the whole family. I don't know why I said that. I think I'm done. I don't know what else to do to this. Obviously I could render and detail and design, but you know, when you haven't done like composition work, and you haven't planned out stuff very well, like I'm not sure what some of these forms are. Maybe that's what I should do. Maybe it's cracked ground. Old debris all around. I do want to play around. Maybe I do this. Maybe I make it, merge it all. Whoa, not that. It's not what I meant to do. We could try overlay. And because we didn't really play around with color much today. What if we just went crazy with the colors? Like, absolutely wild. All the colors. See, like, this is like a deep blue vibes, which again is pretty nice. I will admit, I like it. But it's also a little more normal, you know? Maybe a little bit of that blue is nice. I don't know, it's tricky. Underwater scenes are tough for me to like the colors, because I don't just, I just the deep blue vibe, where it's just like this super blue, like it's gorgeous, but at the same time, it's so homogenous. It's so samey, right? If you look at photos of underwater scenes, like, it's just, they basically all look the same. Like, not completely, but like, there is variation, but not much. Like, you basically have your reef, your shallows, like your shallow, you know, scuba diver, not scuba, like snorkeling type photos, where you take the sea floor with all the life and the colors and stuff. And then you have your deep underwater with the super saturated blue, and then you have like a murky look. And you basically have those three. And I don't know, I think it's every time I do an underwater painting, one of my goals for myself is like, try to do colors that are a little different. And every time I still end up making it somewhat samey. I'm not complaining, It's easy. It's really easy to do the same thing over and over for color palette. Fish can be a little shiny, though. We could add some shimmer. Maybe there's a little group of fishies in here. Something like this. Some fish. A school of fish in there. Just swimming on by. I know they don't really look like fish, but kinda okay. It's basically the equivalent of like birds for scale. Except you're underwater, so it's just fish for scale. Vaguely fish shape. Thing about fish is that because they typically have low light conditions, when you do see them, you're basically just seeing the shimmer, right? You're not seeing like the full silhouette. Whereas with birds, typically when you see a bird against the sky, it's actually the silhouette of the bird. So fish are weird because they're kind of just like blobs. Like you don't, all you see is the shimmer. I mean, I guess you can see the silhouette, right? You can see the silhouette up here. Right? So this would be the full silhouette because it's being backlit. I guess that's a thing. But a lot of times you're not, right? A lot of times you're seeing the shimmer. And so the shape patterns are different. Which I think is quite interesting to think about that stuff. Also, this does not look like a shark. There. Okay. I think this is a good spot to call it done for today. What we have done today is we painted 4 thumbnails, or 4 little sketches. I don't really like calling them thumbnails, but basically just 4 little sketches of viewer-suggested things. So we have a burning village. Wizard tower. I'm just gonna write spring. I know that's not what that was. It was Fountain of Youth, but I'll put in parentheses. Fountain. I don't want to spread misinformation. Youth. And then sunken shipwreck. There we go. Came out great. Thanks. I'm happy with it. It's, you know, it's not my best work, but it's also not my worst. I mean, I like the colors, you know, which is rare for an underwater scene. Underwater scenes can be really boring in color, but I like it. I think it's okay. The silhouette's not bad for this. You know, again, maybe not the most exciting thing. We could probably have put like a mast up here if we wanted. I don't know if that would have survived the... Probably not. But I like that it kind of, you know, it kind of broke off and you know, maybe we probably could have put some fish or something in here swimming up. Something like that. Just a few fish swimming in the depths. But yeah, I appreciate it, Just Fiction. I like some of the vibes of the references I'm finding. They're all flagged of AI. There's a lot of underwater AI images. Maybe I just notice them more because they're more like busy, because a lot of real underwater photos are very busy because they have like the deep ocean, not deep, but like the shallow coral reef type images where there's a lot of like life and fish. And then a lot of the AI images are like deep underwater shipwrecks plus the vibrant life flowing and the saturated deep blue, and it kind of has this like, it's very distinctly AI, and it's very obvious to me, at least with the bulk of them. But it's really interesting. It's funny how it just like takes all those and puts them all together. Oh, but for yours though. Well, this is for your drawing I'm doing. Oh, gotcha. Okay. I have some flats, but not sure how to move forward. I'm not used to drawing this kind of landscape. I see. Yeah. I think for colors, I don't know. I mean, I very much dislike generative AI. It's no surprise to anyone, but I think I will say there are elements of AI that, you know, obviously all the things that it takes that humans do, like typically composition and colors, like it actually does an okay job at some of that sometimes. Now, obviously, you get a lot of very homogeneous stuff, a lot of stuff that is independent of the actual image that you wanted. So like, you know, it doesn't necessarily line up with the mood, but just from like a purely like graphical color value, that kind of thing, sometimes it's not bad. And so I don't know, it's tricky. It kind of it gives me mixed feelings of like, obviously it'd be better to find a painting that has a mood that you want with the color palette, that everything sort of is harmonious, and use that. But yeah, if you do a Google search, you just end up with there's so much AI. Even if you try to filter it, it's hard. But I think as long as you're not, you know, as long as you're not doing like, you know, how do muscles look, like that, if anything anatomical or structural, AI is garbage. But it's, again, if it's just like colors and vibes, like whatever. The goals you gave yourself of putting the ship in the edge and not making it too monochromatic were tough one, and I think you did a great job. Oh, thanks. With the composition and the colors. Yeah, I mean, I think putting the ship on the edge is nice. I kind of like it. I'm not sure. I think that the composition is kind of weird, and I probably could have positioned things differently. But again, this is where like multiple sketches come into play. When you only give yourself one sketch to go off of, like, this is why when people do commissions, right? You do a bunch of sketches. You might even spend an entire day just sketching, doing thumbnails, planning, thinking through things, saying, you know, would I get a bet, you know, if I want to show like it. I think a lot of sketching and thumbnailing, at least for me, it's not random, right? It's not just, oh, let's just spit a bunch of random stuff, but it's saying like, okay, well, I don't like the scale of this. I would like to show more boat. Okay, let's do one where we show more boat, you know? Oh, I think the silhouette is lost. What if I did one where it shows, closer up, you see more of the boat, but also there's still a nice silhouette. Okay, great. Oh, but now you can't tell it's falling down the hole. What if we did an aerial view where you can see it's falling down the hole, and maybe down in the hole, there's the bit of boat that you can see, And like it's basically going through a thought process of like what is lacking, what is what works, what doesn't, and how do I steer it in a direction that's better? You don't get that when you do a single image, which is not great for streaming, right? It's not great when you're doing a one and done painting, but it still, sometimes you can make the best of it, and you can do slight adjustments as you work. But yeah, I'm pretty happy overall with it. Again, for a one-day stream painting, not too terrible. I have played with ChatGPT using ChatGPT to critique and just give me feedback through text. It's kind of interesting. It is kind of interesting. I think that's about, for me, all it is. Because I still, this is how I think about it when it comes to ChatGPT and basically generate... I think if it's anything knowledge-based, and it's something you know about, you very quickly realize how, it's basic... it's easy to forget that it's just, pulling from Reddit, basically. And it's also not... as far as I know, it's not discriminating between, the replies to a thing. If the replies to a comment say this is BS and here's why, it doesn't know, right? Yeah, it's basically just like Reddit comments, but they're shuffled. It feels like it's worse Reddit, basically. And there's the illusion that oh, this is interesting, and also maybe it's pulling from somewhere. Anytime it's about a topic where you're really familiar, it's awful. And if it's not a topic you're familiar, it's oh, this sounds good. And I think the issue is that the illusion, just like in art, right? It's the it has the polish, so it looks like it's really good at first glance. It's really good at fooling you or making your brain go oh, that's a well-constructed argument. But it's not. Consistently. And yeah, there are interesting things, right? Don't get me wrong. It is outsourcing from the rest of the internet, or it's sourcing from the rest of the internet, and basically everything. So yes, there are going to be little things in there that are interesting and new to you, but it's still very I don't know, it feels very surface level. I mean, again, I'm not saying the whole thing is garbage, but it's this weird, if you know about a topic, you realize how bad it is, and if you don't know anything about it, you're convinced it's amazing. And you convince yourself it was useful. But it's hold on a second, these two things don't work together. And I think, again, the analogy here is the exact same that happens with visual art, where there's a level of polish on it that if you don't know what you're looking at, you're this is amazing. This is so polished. But then when you do know what you're looking at, you're oh, the anatomy's all wrong. Everything's wrong, right? And again, same with a written argument. If you know what it is, it's oh, everything's wrong. It's written well, and it sounds convincing, but it's not right. Sometimes it is, but you don't know when it is and when it isn't, because it doesn't actually have... I mean, again, there are layers to this. Obviously, if you ask it to do a math problem, it can literally pull up Wolfram Alpha or any other a calculator app, and it can do math based on it's not everything in ChatGPT is purely generative AI, right? There are elements of it pulling from other things. It might know to cite its sources of Wikipedia, and it'll tell you where it's grabbing stuff, and occasionally it's kind of useful. I feel at least with art it's way worse. With art it's way worse, right? It doesn't cite its sources, it doesn't tell you where it stole its art from, it's not even attempting to be transparent, and there's nothing there's no instance. It also it does make up, but also it does at least link typically. If you do click on the sources, it's like, it obviously has gotten a lot better from like even a year ago. Like, it's ChatGPT does cite sources, but it will still just tell you the wrong thing. I think the last thing I looked up randomly, oh yeah, it was just literally like 2 days ago, was the what do you call it? You know how if you just Google something, instead of it telling you the answer of like an old time Google search, it now just uses ChatGPT. I was looking for store hours on New Year's Day. Or no, not store hours. I was looking for the phone number to a store. I don't remember what I was looking for. Phone number and or store hours. Actually, maybe there was two separate instances. One, I was looking for store hours for New Year's Day to figure out if they were open or closed, and it was wrong in the hours because it was like from an outdated thing. And another time, I was looking for the number to a store, and it gave me like an obscure department within the store, but it labeled it as the main store's number. Hey, Kath, how's it going? Amazing painting, thank you. Or awesome painting, thank you. How's it going, Kath? Hope you're doing well. So, like, I was trying to call a grocery store because it was my grocery store, and I didn't know the number because I don't have it memorized, and for whatever reason, I just Googled it. But it gave me, like, the floral department, but it told me it was the main store's number, and it wasn't. It's like, we don't even really have a floral department in our store. Like, we kind of do, but not really. Like, it's technically we sell flowers, but it's like a tiny little thing that is insignificant, but that's the number it gave me. Like, why did it give me that number? And it told me that was the store. It didn't say floral department. It didn't distinguish. It just said store number, and then it was wrong. But yeah, it probably doesn't, Vegas. Yeah, and Vegas, I think there are lots of different, there's probably lots of different models, and if once you learn them and know which is best for what, I'm sure you can navigate it semi competently. But like, yeah, and I realize AI overview is different, but anyway, there are just, it is just sourcing. It's just generative sourcing from the internet. Doesn't know crap. It's dumb, and it gets things wrong, just like people on Reddit get things wrong. It's basically just a worse Reddit, and Reddit's already questionable at best. So yeah, anyway, my opinion of it's very, very low still, but whatever. But yeah, I'm ending stream here. Kath says, it's going terribly. I'm coping by buying art supplies. Wait, do you mean... Hold on, Kath. Is it going poorly because you're buying so many art supplies? Or is it actually going terribly and you're buying art supplies? Like, I'm sorry to hear it's going terribly. I would ask more, but you don't need to get into it. Also, yeah. And now I'm curious. I'm sorry to hear that's going terribly. Oh yeah, you're sick, right? No, something went wrong. Oh no. Or wait, no, you weren't sick. Somebody was sick. I don't remember. Sorry, I'm bad at reading Discord. Oh no. Well, I'm sorry something went wrong. Whatever it is, maybe there's info somewhere. For the last 4 days, I worked on a masterpiece. Oh no, I feel like this already is a setup for something bad. And 4 days ago, I made a mistake when measuring. Uh-oh. So it's all ruined. Oh no. Okay, well that's pretty disastrous, but it's not like life-altering disaster like you are homeless or you I don't know, something bad happened, like you broke your legs. Like, I don't know, that at least, okay, that's not, I mean, I'm not trying to make light of the situation. That does sound like it sucks. For 4 days you worked on something. That's a lot of time investment, and that's extremely stressful. Dang, I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, that sucks. That was a terrible response from me, by the way. I apologize if I sounded callous there. But look how pretty it was. Okay, I gotta take a look. Oh, I can see where measuring would be important here. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, I'm getting the picture now. This is gorgeous. And yeah, so I'm assuming it didn't fit the book that you were putting it on. Am I correct in assuming that's the... I'm assuming it doesn't fit the book, right? Is that the end result here? It's all hand embroidered. Yeah, no, this is gorgeous. Oh no, yeah. Well, I guess the big takeaway would be uh I don't know, double check again next time. Dang, that sucks. But yeah, that looks frameable and good decoration. It's beautiful. All the hand embroidery. Also, look at that lettering. Can I can I just appreciate your lettering for a moment? That's very nice. But yeah, no, that sucks, Kath. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I won't make that mistake twice. Yeah, you're gonna be... I mean, look, think on the bright side. You're better off for it now because now you know. And now someday when you're teaching someone how to do that because someone's going to be like, "Oh my god, that's amazing. Teach me." You can be like, "Here's what not to do. Double check your measurements. Trust me. It's important." And now they'll listen to you because you have gone through this thing. I don't know. I'm trying to look on the bright side here. But yeah, that's definitely one of those things that you'll only do once. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end stream here. I kind of wanted to wait it out because I think Casey Snow is going live maybe at 3. And for whatever reason, I keep ending stream right before 3. And then as I'm rating, I see that she's online and I feel stupid because I should have waited. So I kind of want to wait, but I don't actually know if she's going to stream. Let me snoop her Discord. Let's snoop Casey Snow's Discord. Does she stream at schedule? Her stream schedule. Today is... what day is today? The 10th. 4 p.m. Okay, we're not... No, that is 3. That's 3. She's an hour ahead of me. Sea Slug Dragon Design. Do we wait? I guess we wait. You know what we can do? We can do connections. Okay, we're gonna do connections. Because I wanted to raid Casey Snow, but I never get to because I'm always ending the stream like 10 minutes early. Anyway, if she's lurking, hi. Thanks for the lurk. And go live so we can raid you. Thanks. Okay, let's do the connections today. We can be bad at word games for 10 minutes. Oh yeah, this is what we did last stream. Look, or no, this is what we did this stream. Not last stream, what am I talking about? We did this today. This stream, we did Burning Village, Wizard Tower, Spring, Fountain of Youth, which doesn't really look like a Fountain of Youth, but whatever. And a Sunken Shipwreck. And then we picked one of these and worked on it till the end of stream. This is what we did last stream, but I can show you the thumbnails from last stream. I was quite happy with our thumbnails from last stream. And also, not because the social media is important, but it might also have been, for whatever reason, like my biggest Twitter post ever. Why? I have no idea. It's literally just random. But like, I was pretty happy with these, and then Twitter seemed to like it, so that's cool. But yeah, these are what I did last stream. I was very happy with these. It was nice to have prompts. So instead of doing random thumbnails, I've been taking suggestions from viewers. We should build that Wizard Tower as a partner tower for our witch. We should. It's almost... wait, oh, as a partner tower. Oh, no. No, not this one. This would not be good. This is just a big blob. This is a big blob of a mess. We would need to do a better design. This one sucks. But I do agree. We could totally give a partner tower. Those pyramid things. we totally could do a Minecraft build as a partner tower in that. For those who don't know, me and Kath are part of the same Minecraft world, and we built a giant wizard tower, and it's pretty cool. It reminds me of Will of the Many. Yeah, except there's a lot more obsidian in Will of the Many. Wait. Yeah. They really like their obsidian. And I guess that's more strength of the few. But anyway, spoilers. So lots of dark. Lots of dark stuff. But anyway. But yeah, some floating pyramids, and statues in a forest, and then also blooming forest was that one. This was like a sulfuric vibes. This was supposed to be a graveyard, but I figured things entombed in spiders is pretty graveyardy, or depending on how you define a graveyard. Just Fiction says, Joe, I don't think Casey streams on Saturdays. She does the dragon design on the first Wednesday of each month, which was a few days ago. Oh, what? What? Hold on. But isn't this... Oh, that was December! No! I was looking at December's stream schedule. Oh no, that was Wednesday. Crap. Okay. So no Casey stream today. Okay, that would make sense because she was cleaning earlier. And she was like, I'm rearranging stuff and moving things. So yeah, that would make sense she's not doing that right before stream. Okay. Well, okay, fine. We're still gonna do the connections. But thank you for the heads up, Just Fiction. I was looking at the December schedule. Ah, bummer. It's all good. Okay, book. Hey, that's relevant. Okay, so the way Connections works, for people who don't know what I'm doing, this game is called Connections. I need to make 4 groups of 4, and each, you can kind of see them highlighted when I select them, but there's 4 groups of 4, and each group has like a connecting theme, or sometimes it's a synonym, sometimes there's like a missing word, so it could be like fire hose, or something else, right? Anyway, like a jet, I'm already seeing, so okay, well, I can read through them, but book, bar, gram, split, tube, web, jet, app, straw, mole, desktop, pipe, you could pipe up, volt, mobile, hose. There's definitely like a flea, like you could dip, you could jet, you could split, you could book it. Yeah, okay. So this is like escaping, to escape, to take off. Okay, you have an app, mobile, web. Are these like I don't know, computer things? That's very boomer of me to say, computer things. Gee, sure are computery. But you have like web, mobile, desktop, app, hose, tube, pipe, straw. Yeah, Kath, I like that. Yeah, that's hollow cylinders. Okay, web, app, mobile, desktop. Maybe it's like things you program for. I don't know. Mole, gram, volt, bar. Yeah, those are units of measurements. So yeah, that's correct. That one was easy. Okay, well that was something. There we go. Software platforms, yeah. Okay. Computer things. I felt like such a boomer saying that because I'm like, these obviously go together, but I don't know what the technical word is. Like, things on a computer? Like, okay. Yeah, I guess we're gonna go raid someone then. Thank you for being here. I appreciate everyone being here. We did a an underwater painting today. Underwater shipwreck. Let's sign it. I don't know who we're gonna raid, but we'll raid somebody. Thank you for stream. Yeah, thanks for being here. Good to see you again, Kath. Thanks for popping in. I'm very sorry to hear about your book cover fiasco. That sounds extremely stressful, and I apologize for smiling while I say it. It's just the way you kind of described it is like, you know, this. I mean, it is pretty catastrophic, but it's very frustrating. But yeah, I am very sorry to hear that. That does suck. Okay, we are gonna raid somebody. So I guess my outro is thanks for being here. I stream 3 days a week, Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Oh, in a week, I have an announcement. We're doing a sketch exchange next Saturday, 1 week from today. I keep forgetting. Next week, we are doing a sketch exchange. Oh, there's a comment here. Can I suggest a landscape of mountains at the distant... Oh, I just realized that I still had that pinned. I could do it next time. I'm actually ending stream right now. But you said Job Back in Digital said, can I suggest a landscape of mountains at the distance of some golem silhouettes walking in a bridge to reach the other side of the way? Mountains with a bridge and golems. I mean, we could do that. That's very specific. But yes, let me do this. I'm gonna copy this, print screen. This will be for next time because I'm ending stream right now. So here's what I'll do. Let me just make my new folder here. 897. We're creeping up on 900 streams of doing stuff. Okay, we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna copy all that, delete it, and then paste. There we go. That way I'll remember. Yeah, no worries, no worries. So yeah, that way I'll remember that next time this can be a suggestion. It is very specific, but I think mountains, golems, and bridges are totally things I'm okay doing. I don't know if I'll do the bridge necessarily. It might be like a broken bridge, who knows. But yeah, no, this works. We'll just save that, close it for next time, and yeah. Assuming we do this next time. But yes, in 1 week, next Saturday, we're going to do sketch exchange. It's going to be like Secret Santa style. I will open up a channel in Discord for it. People can write their prompts. Everybody will basically, I'll shuffle them and randomly assign them. And then whatever prompt you get, you will sketch till the end of stream. Or if you want, you'll do a sketch. And then it will be someone else's sketch or someone else's prompt. And then we'll share them, and yeah, it's always fun. It's always fun to see who gets your prompt and what they do with it. So yeah, but we'll do that next Saturday. I'll mention it more between now and then. And take care. I will be live Monday, this coming Monday. That is a thing.